Hello and welcome to the 30th episode of Meet the Media Veteran Series. It is very rare to know someone who has given his life hunting and chasing the rarest species on the earth and capture those mesmerizing moments with his lens. Our today's guest is a highly decorated, internationally acclaimed producer, filmmaker, and cinematographer. He is India's leading wildlife filmmaker, specializing in tiger-centric films. Without much surprise, he has won several national and international awards, and his work has high aesthetic and academic value. He has filmed some of the most iconic tiger and wildlife films for several reputed TV networks all across the globe. So, before I present his detailed bio, may I first welcome the veteran producer, filmmaker, and cinematographer, Mr. Nalla Muthu, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for giving an
Very
opportunity.
welcome to the show, Mr. Nalla Muthu. It's such an honor having you on the show today. So, before we formally begin, let me present the brief biography of Mr. Nalla Muthu to the audience. Nalla Muthu is an award-winning wildlife filmmaker, producer, and cinematographer from Chennai. He has graduated in cinematography from FTIT Chennai and later worked as a high-speed camera person with ISRO and as a film camera person for Films Division. He has worked with some of industry's best directors and television networks worldwide, such as National Geographic Channel, BBC, Discovery Channel, Channel 4, Animal Planet, Star TV, and Doordarshan. There are many firsts associated with Nalla Muthu's work. He shot India's first and longest running Panda Award winning environment series, Living on the Edge, the first travel show of the beaten track, first automobile show, Wheels, first reality show, Hospital, and the first Hindi feature film in full HD watch shot by Mr. Nalla Muthu. He was first to use 4K resolution in wildlife filmmaking. Nalla Muthu's fascination for beautiful visuals and his passion for wildlife have resulted in him spending most of his time in forests, searching for unique characters and stories. Through his films, Nalla Muthu hopes to bring forward the unpredictable wildlife and give conservation a cinematic perspective. His ability to add a theatrical touch to the factual storytelling and his technical skills combined with a poetic visual style have won him several awards, including the prestigious Indian National Film Award for Best Photography and Best Environment Film. He has won over 40 national and international awards and honors. He has directed 23 feature documentaries, 11 non-fiction series, and has been the cinematographer of over 50 documentaries for national and international television. Currently, he is the director of Grey Films, which is a multi-award winning independent production house producing a broad range of genres in documentaries and television broadcasting programming. It is such an honor having such a versatile filmmaker on this show today. It's such an honor having Mr. Muthu on the show today. To moderate today's session, we have eminent writer and filmmaker and the Vice President of Film Federation of India, Mr. Ramesh Tekwani, with us. So let me welcome Mr. Tekwani to the show. Thank you so much, Mr. Ramesh, for kindly joining us on the show today. So without further ado, may I request Mr. Tekwani to kindly moderate this session. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. All of you who have already seen the mailer for this show know what Mr. Nalla Muthu is all about. Now, should I call him Nalla Muthu or should I call him Nalla? Well, we all call him Nalla because, we are friends, but not really so. He's called Nalla because by now, Nalla has become a brand. Brand Nalla. Today's title of the show that we have given is Challenges and Rewards of Wildlife Filmmaking. In our conversations, of course, you have shared more, but let us begin at the beginning because there are students, filmmakers, aspirants watching the show. So the great filmmaker must have had some very humble beginnings. So where did you start? Did you go to school? Did you go to college? We know that you went to, the FTIT. Could you share some of your early life stories, please, with us?
Thank you very much for giving a great opportunity to share my experience and knowledge, whatever I he earned in this whole process of filmmaking. I mean, I'm from Kanyakumari district, from a small village called Vanliu. I studied in a government school. My father is a headmaster. So after completion of plus two, I was first batch of plus two. Earlier used to be PUC. I was the first batch of plus two matriculation. Then I wanted to join Film Institute. I tried. It was very difficult to get Film Institute. There were only 10 students every year they take it. Somehow I managed to get the seat in 1983. So it's a 3 years course, completed the 3 years course of cinematography, which is 1986. And after that, my father is a headmaster. He wants me to go to a government job because those days, cinematography means there is no one knows about it. There's hardly anyone knows there is a cinematography course. There is a future in cinematography. So as a headmaster, he wants me to join central government job as a cinematographer, as a cameraman who wants to do something in feature films. Basically, I'm a feature film cameraman who studied specialized in cinematography. I thought, let me join a place which is next to Chennai so that I can keep in touch with cinema also, and same time parallelly I can fulfill my father's dream. So I got an opportunity. I applied. Sriharikota, there used to be a camera department. The one good thing which I wanted to join there is those days in Indian Space Research, they used to have very high-end cinematography equipment like high-speed cameras. I mean, those days there was no videos, only what you call celluloids. They had 35 mm, they had 16 mm, they had all high-end cameras like Hasselblad, Lennox, and whatever it was, all very high-end research equipments and specialized cinematography equipment. I thought it's a good opportunity to learn cinematography technically also high-end. At the same time, Saturday, Sunday, I can come back to Chennai and assist cameramen, keep in touch, and also parallelly, progress in that cinematography field. So that's the reason I joined there. And there the specialty is high speed. Those days they used to launch every Wednesday. They used to launch a weather rocket. So that's a practice, for us to track those weather rocket. We just keep tracking in high speed because the main rocket, which is ASLV, D1, D2, and those days Agni, and all these things, that take 1.5 to 2 years to stage by stage prepare it, and they do a lot of tests, and our job is to document that also. And same time, we were getting prepared to take that launch, which is going to happen after a year or something. So in that practice, it was good to document the process of making a rocket and also parallelly experiencing high speed. So both combined, and I was working and great knowledge, because those days we used to shoot 100 frames per second in 16 mm cameras, and there was no camera outside the market. In a commercial market, there's no high-speed cameras, but these are specialist cameras. They bought it only for ISRO. And it's all a lot of knowledge we gathered, and it's a challenge to document, challenge to track the rocket and get scientific data and give information to scientists. And same time, we parallelly shoot birds also, pelicans, and takeoff and landing, and that, all birds, flight, rocket, and everything we give technical support. It is a great opportunity and great to gather knowledge. And same time, every Saturday, Sunday, come to feature film field in Chennai, work as an assistant in cinema, and go back. The idea is that. So after 2.5 years, I just thought, I just wanted to move ahead to feature film, basically, and I'm a feature film cameraman. So at that time, there was an opportunity I got in ISRO. Also had one more place in Ahmedabad, which is called DECU. That is India's first television, pitch transmission. They started there, India's television. At that time, we are slowly getting into television, system. So I thought might as well go there and learn some television side. So that's a great opportunity. Again, they had outstanding equipments. Those days, what happened? They provided television to villages. They had their own satellite, and we go and shoot film for documentaries and fiction, drama, and everything. And we telecast through our own satellite, and they telecast to that village, and we sit with them and watch the same program. It was a great experience of filming and broadcasting it, and sitting and watching with these people. So again, it's in a completely different experience of producing film for an audience, for a common audience. So then I worked there for a year and a half. Then I thought, okay, try to move ahead to do something. So that time in Delhi, there's in India, there used to be only Doordarshan. So Doordarshan people used to come to ISRO and take training and go back to Delhi. So I was also part of it. Then I thought they were started doing, planning for a metro channel. And first time private channels started getting into Delhi. So I thought, okay, let me explore that. Then I shifted to Delhi. So instead of just going to Delhi, I thought might as well go to a government job. I wanted to stick to a government job so that my basic is taken care of. So I applied for a film division job. Then I got an opportunity to get a documentary cameraman in film division. It was a class 2 gazetted post at that time. As a bachelor, I went there and joined there and parallelly trying to do something in television. Then I thought I got a great opportunity to work for a big television series. So I decided to quit the job, started working freelance. So that is my journey from school to government to different stages, and decided to join as a freelance. So freelance, I started getting a lot of opportunities like dramas and documentaries and environment series, travel series. So this is a journey which I just thought I'll put it.
Well, now you've done your career, as a job. You satisfied your father that you got yourself a government job, and I think you were reasonably established. And by now, I think your father must have suppressed his desire of wanting you to work for the government, because I don't know whether people still think working for the government is an attractive option, because the kind of salaries the private sector offers you, but you can also get sacked on the spot. But if you're on your own, the way you've gone, then you can decide for yourself, and if you're good, then you can stay. And people must have the kind of faith in themselves. They must excel so that they can say, and they can never get sacked from doing a job if they keep reinventing themselves or doing the same thing better every time. All right. So now, when you came into the private sector, could you tell us about those, the firsts that you did? Now, we can take your living with what's it called?
Living on the Edge.
Living on Edge, we'll take a little later. But your auto show, your travel show, tell us about that. What is it that made it unique? I mean, first is one thing, but what is it that made it unique? If you could share that, please.
See, the whole thing is, technically speaking, when I was 1991, I was in Delhi. There used to be only high band, U-matic and high band. There's not even there's a format called Betacam. Betacam, it's big those days. I mean, I'm talking about people everywhere they're using only high band systems. But I've been in ISRO, we were doing DigiBeta. We were two stage ahead. So when I go to Delhi, when I was in Delhi, I was I was prepared to do an advanced format. I was very well versed with that particular system. That is one confident. So, and Betacam is just entering into the market. So the first Doordarshan wants to do a series called Samandar, which was the first Navy show series, which I got an opportunity to work in Betacam with a new format. That's one challenge. But always as a technician, I want to do something different. And I always want to do something, whatever I want to do that as the first thing. But that also the first Betacam fiction-based series in Doordarshan, in not only production, post-production, everything. That was the first one. Then what happened? I mean, at that time abroad, internationally, they were in DigiBeta. There's one format ahead. So those days, the freelancers the international producer who wants to come to do full documentaries in the country, hardly anyone can operate this. I mean, operation is same, but well versed with this DigiBeta format, which I was ready to do any format because I was prepared for it. So I had a good opportunity to work with those formats for international broadcasters who come and they pick me up as a cameraman, cinematographer. They bring the equipment from there. I shoot. Then they take the equipment because there was no equipment. So there is another good opportunity since you are advanced. You know that advanced technology. So, and again, BBC was entering into the market, and they were the first people. They wanted to do this reality show. They did one in Heathrow Airport, and here they wanted to do something in hospital. We selected Hospital Ames. It's again an observational, first reality observational show. So there again we started shooting in Digipita and travel series. All these private channels, they Star TV and everyone started working on this new travel shows. So there was the first time in our country a travel show. You know, we started moving with the camera outside, started moving around with the anchor persons and travel. You know, it's like all fun things started happening in the country. So it's all new, and you just keep innovating new ideas, new format, new technology. You know, try to adopt this international successful format. So it's all really worked. You know, you just keep exploring new thing and giving and telecasting and seeing it, and everything was doing well because all our shows, a travel show in Star TV called Great Escape was an outstanding show. It was the first travel show, and there's an off the beaten path which we used to carry these cameras and handle and go to all rough and tough places like river rafting, to travel by camel to in the desert, and backwater in the boat, and bike in Chandigarh by bike, and all sort of a candid stuff. We just using this this ENG format and try to give a completely new what you call type of a film which everyone start liking it. So it's all we experiment a lot of stuff, and really all worked, and all our prime time shows and all our award winning shows. So basically what I wanted to say is, it's again a confident of you know the format very well. You want to explore it. You want to do something completely new, and you want to break the so-called monotonous which people used to do only with talking heads. Just keep doing interviews and interviews. You want to break that, and you want to give completely a new visual based sequence, and you are on your own, and you just keep exploring it. So that is a great experience. So, and after that, a lot of people started following it, and that's one good thing. If someone follows your first attempt and people are doing it, it's good to
See, over here, there's one thing you haven't told us, is you said that people from out came and started giving you work. How did people get to know about you?
See, mainly what happens is they also do good. Those days they do. I mean, obviously, international broadcasters are very good in research and identifying peoples. And those days, what happened? They tried to source these technicians through this camera manufacturers and dealers and distributors. For example, when Khan has decided to take digital format also for the competition. And India, there is someone wants to do a film wanted to get an award, want to enter the film in Cannes. So what happens is, at those days only celluloid goes, and this producer decided to do it in digital and celluloid, so that he definitely there's a good chance to get an award or whatever it is. So those days there was no high definition cameras in our country. So that the crew is supposed to be Indian and the production should be Indian. They want to enter in Cannes in digital format. So they started identifying, asking people, from the Sony. So Sony people, someone they knew there is one person in this country using our camera, which people are bringing from abroad and using it. Through them, they get to know that there's someone who's operating this format. So through that, those days I used to operate HD cameras, because there's no HD cameras. They used to get cameras from abroad. I shoot and they take it back. So through them, they knew there is someone who can also doing work in HD. So like that, I got an opportunity to work in India's first HD feature film, which is we shot. It's called Dharam, and we shot something in 2007. There was the first film. There's no camera. There's no lenses in our country. The first digital format. Pankaj Kapoor was acting, and we hired the lenses from London. There's no post-production setup. There's no monitor. There's no screen to project and see it. Everything with an experience. We decided to do a feature film, first feature film in this country for a Cannes it's an award-winning film again. So like this, they just find the technicians. So I got a good opportunity. I worked on it, I mean, still, it's a record. It's the first India's first HD feature film. So for me, it's, as a technician, I'm very happy that I was part of it. And now the whole world is doing digital. I mean, those days I'm talking about high definition. It was. Then the 2K has come. Now the 4K has come. So it's all experiment. So I mean, it's like that. I got opportunity to work in Channel 4, and you name it, any channel worldwide. I must have worked in high-end documentaries. Those days they do very high-end documentaries worth of crores. So, I mean, these are great opportunities since you are willing to explore and experiment and give a successful result.
So, I think from this, we can say that you got an opportunity because you were also trying to discover or keep in touch with what was happening in the world and making inquiries about it.
Yes.
All right. If you know, if you read about it as a cameraman, you know, you realize that, you know, digital cameras were coming in. Now, when digital cameras like U-Matics, you know, when we tried to shoot earlier stages in U-Matic, we were getting horrible results.
Yeah.
You know, but nonetheless, you know, Doordarshan and other channels were using low band and then high band, and they took some time to come to, you know, even beta. I think they jumped straight to beta SP. They never did go into ordinary beta. And then they switched to Digi Beta, but they were still using the tape format.
Still.
The tape format. Now, when you shot, you know, your first, you're talking about lensing. Correct? From then to now that we've shifted to digital completely, are you satisfied with the quality of equipment that we get here? Do you miss celluloid?
See, end of the day, till I'm from cellular, I mean, even though I'm using 4K camera, I mean, I convert everything from 35mm to whether it is HD or U-Matic or Beta or Digi Beta or 2K or 4K. End of the day, everything for me, my muscle, my lensing wise, even every knowledge wise, everything I'll just calculate from the 35mm format, because I always treat these formats are just a format, just an instrument. At the end of the day, I as a cinematographer, I believe in content. I believe, for me, content is the first thing. With this any new camera you give it to me, it takes 2 days or a day to understand, and it just, you know, after a point, I mean, it just, you know, I mean, it just we just start working on it. So for me, end of the day, quality. I mean, quality means a lot of cinematographers will stick to only quality in terms of good images. For me, as a director cameraman, you know, most of my film, from Living on the Edge onwards to any travel shows or automobile show or anything, it's mostly a director cameraman's job. It's not only just operating camera according to any producers, this thing. So basically, as a director cameraman, for me, the first priority is the content, and try to get best out of this from the scene, whatever the equipment which you have, whether it is, I mean, Digi Beta or HD, or because end of the day, the basic foundation is from the 35mm. So for me, I mean, that's what, even now also we just calculate in 11 and 16 and 1/50th shutter and ASA, and everything is same. Everything is same. Only the recording format is different. This theoretically they talk some this thing. Color corrections are, earlier we used to do in primary colors and stuff. Now this raw has come. We record them separately. If you sit, if you analyze at the end of the day, if you know the celluloid, you can survive for another 20 years. I don't think any format come which doesn't matter.
Who come in now, freshers don't know about celluloid.
Yeah.
Correct. So now, if freshers come in, how are they to look at, you know, shooting today? Like today, you said something very interesting, that beyond a point, you know, you left your preoccupation with celluloid, and you decided that you have content to capture on the camera, and the content that you capture onto camera is important. Correct. Yeah. So what would you tell, you know, today's filmmakers? Now, in your case, you know, there are three distinct characters that are there, that you are the cameraman, that you are the director, that you are the producer, both in terms of television, where, you know, you are an organizer and a director, and a producer where in terms that you are also the financer and the organizer. There are many shades of all these happens. Now, many of the independent filmmakers become producers by default. Correct?
Yeah.
But you did not switch into producers to becoming a producer by default. Can you share why you wanted to become a producer? When you were doing very well as a director, when you were doing very well as a cameraman, and you didn't have to bother about anything, yet you chose to become a producer. Why?
See, worldwide, if you see in our country, now it is slowly started getting into our system and even in our, media. There is hardly, the thing called specialization. Very, very few people do it. Which used to be there which is still there in abroad. There's a specialization. There's some people specialize. They stick to only one particular software or one particular work profession. So, as a cinematographer, I specialized in one particular content. So that's one reason I started working towards that specialization. For people who are new people, now see, earlier we with ARRI 3 and ARRI 2C, ARRI 4, all we had one camera, one particular format and one particular model of camera. In that we do all advertisement, documentaries, corporate film, feature films, music video and everything. But here now, if you see, you have got cameras kind of purpose. That whatever that you can buy camera. If I wanted to do something specialized only on marriage coverage, there are specialized cameras only for marriage coverage. If I want to do only documentaries, there is a camera only for documentary. I use Sony F55, which is a documentary camera. Now people are using it for fiction also. But if you ask me, that's the best documentary camera which I'm using it. Because the reason people say red, people say no, ARRI Alexa. For me, Sony A55 is good because it's a 4K camera. The minute you put, that's the fastest camera which you can reboot it. It takes 10 seconds. Other camera take more than 12 seconds and 30 seconds. So for me, that fastest camera is important. So that's the reason. Again, it's got a lot of features which works for documentary. It's a specialized for documentary. So my advice is always for the youngsters who wanted to become whatever, they have to specialize one, whether they want to become director or a producer or a cinematographer or a content creator or a gesture, whatever. They have to specialize. So once they decide mentally they want to specialize, specialize means whatever they are good at. Even though now I'm a producer, director, but still as a cameraman, I'm good at my camera. So then all the production and direction and all this finance comes. I always wanted to do camera. I never, even though I became a producer, I hardly used anyone to work for my film. No, I always first preference is I like to shoot myself because I'm specialized in cinematography. In that cinematography, I selected wildlife because wildlife is cinematographer's job. Even if you as a producer, if you hire a cinematographer, they can contribute anything at the time of shooting an animal or a tiger or anything, because the first thing is the cameraman has to capture. The fiction is completely different. They can plan the shot, they can do a rehearsal, they can visualize the shot, So here, as a cameraman, I thought, okay, now I'm good at camera. I've gone through all the format. I've done all this for different sort of a project. Now let me do something which I can do on my own. So that's the first reason I decided to go on wildlife. So like that, one has to finalize a specialization, stick to the specialization, start working on it, updating themselves, get used to that, and slog it, and till they get into a point, they have to work on it. That is one thing which I always say. But here, what happens is here, if you say, people always say, I'm happy to call myself as a cameraman, even though I produce so many projects and I've directed so many things, I have series of projects and so many things. I would like to say, the minute I say yes, Nallamuthu, first thing comes cinematography. So, I mean, after that, because of my wildlife, I'm into this because the whole profession is like that. So here, if you ask anyone, they'll say, no, I produce and write and I cinematograph. No, that's sort of a completely, multitasking is different. I'm talking about if you want to specialize, if you want to do something good, something professionally, you want to achieve something, I always advise to do something specialization, which is not happening in today's time. Because they want to do everything. They say, I also edit. They'll say, I want to. I mean, that's one thing which somehow, maybe because I'm from a film school, because what we learned from our film school is value and specialize something. Because in our film school, cinematography and editing and direction and processing and all different things, we all specialize it. So that's one thing. Again, question, I think I hope answered, because of wildlife it's one-man job mainly. And again, the kind of a film which I make, I don't make compiling shots, put together some music and put some voiceover or interview based or talking heads. No, I would like to observe from the day one. Even I followed in 89, 90, I started documenting one rocket for 1.5 years. No, from stage by stage, finally they get the shape, then the launch. So my whole blood, my memory, everything to document and give life to that and then see the final product. So like that, I thought, okay, as a cameraman, as an observational person who can mold into any system, anywhere, I can do a brilliant visual-based sequence, I can do a candid stuff, I can do a cookery show, and also we have experienced everything, right, from high speed to this. I thought, okay, let me start concentrating and observe one particular character and follow and try to do a sequencing. So most of the cameramen will expect someone to tell what shot to take and what's the next shot and what's the next shot. Since I'm used to work as a sequence cameraman, as a segment director and a director producer, I don't need anyone to tell what is next. So as a cameraman, I know I got this shot, then what is this? So I know you whole thing, because it's all that's the next stage. You cross cinematography, you completed cinematography, then you started working on sequencing it. So these experience works in that particular, while filming a tiger or filming an elephant or following a character, you try to make a sequence. Once you got the sequence, you know that, okay, now you got the sequence, and you start working on the next sequence to lead into this sequence to that sequence. So like that, we keep visualizing it and wait till that shot to get that shot. That's one thing. Wildlife, you may not get all the shots in that particular moment. You may get 3 shots and 4 shots. I'll memorize it. I know this shot is missing. You may get after 6 months. So a cinematographer, visualizer, we're following and observing it. We know that this is missing. So we know all this thing in memory. We keep follow and take it. So that's the way. For a cinematographer, if anyone wants to become a wildlife cameraman, I would say they should be thorough in cinematography first, because at the end of the day, visual matters. I'm talking about if you want to make a visual-driven, cinematography-driven film. So that helps. These experiences really helping me to capture this sequence, tell a story, and then obviously, that's what I'm doing it. Which is still I'm experimenting is still I'm exploring it. Till I want to do something new in that observational film. I don't call my films a pure wildlife film. It's an observational documentary film. I follow one particular character in the wild. So it will not. I still don't know the definition of wildlife film. Most of the people say wildlife film is should be about conservation and all these things. I don't know. I believe in conservation. I am not a conservationist. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a storyteller. And I try to push my conservation message in the story. So it's all mixed up. At the end of the day, for me, first is story. Second is I make film for a common audience. So this all the experience put together is really helping me.
Nala, I think at this time, I think we'll have to request. I'll sum up what you said, but it can be better summed up if Mr. Ubaid would show that film, your promo about Life Force.
The Western Ghats, a network of waterfalls, ancient swamps, and jungles. At its heart, a mountain range created by cataclysmic volcanic forces millions of years ago. Powered by the Great Monsoon, the Ghats became a refuge for a diverse group of creatures. A nocturnal primal, a mutant termite-eating bear, a giant purple frog that has outlived the dinosaurs, and one of the strangest looking birds in Asia, the Western Ghats, one of the great animal arts on Earth.
Okay, I think by this film, it tells much more about you than, a mere camera person or a superb camera person or a specialist camera person. It also shows that when you're working in an overall industry, like if you're in the business of filmmaking, you are a filmmaker, you are a specialist filmmaker, but you made a statement that in wildlife or your kind of filmmaking, one needs to be a camera person first. At the same time, one has to develop one's own directorial skills, one's editing skills. You spoke about sequential camera, shooting in a sequence. Now, shooting in a sequence, in a feature film or in fiction is something else. Now, we will take certain things matters later, but right now, certain things about the camera person itself. Now, if supposing there was a director with you and the director tells you to shoot and you look back and you kind of missed what the action that is going on.
Yeah.
Here, you're looking through. In the good old days, you had your eye, on the eyepiece. But today, okay, you're lucky that, you have a screen before you, so you can see the action and still keep away from it and keep one eye on the screen and one eye, on the overall to see whether a butterfly is going to come and sit on the tiger's nose or something like that. Or even that last shot of that insect, trying to lick off the fly on the camera. Various little things. Now, perhaps a director here would actually, hamper a camera person's work. I mean, just a thought. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's not, obviously. There is directors, not hamper. Obviously, it's a cameraman job to get this right movement. That's first thing, And again, it's basically for me when I'm working in a while. After a point, I don't even bother about the camera which I'm using it, because for me most of the time I concentrate to get this content and movement, because you are used to this camera and you're working with seeing the viewfinder for more than 20-25 years, so automatically your hand goes and muscle memory goes and you automatically focus, because we don't use any assistants. I go alone, my driver and myself. You cannot have an assistant, because we'll be using 300mm, 500mm lenses. I don't even, whether it is an assistant or a producer, she or he can't even see what I am seeing through my lens, which is 500mm. And in our like fiction, we won't use an external monitor, because it's mostly outdoor and it's not very comfortable to see in an outdoor. So only a viewfinder for us. I see only through a viewfinder. Sometimes she or he didn't even know what I'm seeing it, including my assistant. Only the driver whom I'm working, for example, all my tiger film, I spent 2 years. The recent film I did 200 days, I followed one tiger. So the driver knows that only that communication is myself and the driver, but he knows where to stop, when to stop, because that's the only communication we can talk. And rest all manually we operate, focusing, lifting, shifting, and transferring the stuff and moving around and giving command and get this content. So at that time, this all happens automatically. I don't even put any energy into that. I mean, there is even whatever the weight, the long length, we just mount it. Our whole thing is to get the content and the story and get this movement. That is what matters. Here, there is no role for anyone else. Even if it is, I mean, if there, I mean, they may come for 1 or 2 days, and after that they'll say, "Nalla, why don't you go alone?" That's what. There are sometimes I used to do freelance job with the directors to come 1 or 2 days with a lot of enthusiasm. They come and sit next to the camera. Then they do nothing. There's no use of them. Then they okay, I'll stay at the hotel. You just go get the material and come. We'll see it in the hotel. So this is what happens. So end of the day, as a wildlife observational cinematographer, if you really want, you need to be thorough with your cinematography language, which is very, very important. It's not that just putting an auto lens, an auto camera, and an auto exposure and get it. No, that's not going to tell a story.
So over here, when you're shooting your sequencing, can you elaborate a little bit of a sequence? Supposing there is a family of tigers and you're shooting it. Now, how do you decide at that point what is happening? Okay, now, unlike fiction where there is a script, now the tiger's not, or the lion or somebody is not acting as per some script, correct? So
Yeah.
how do you realize what do you want to cover, or do you have another eye, not beyond the viewfinder where you're watching what somebody is doing or not doing? Can you elaborate on that, please?
I mean, when, for example, if we mostly shoot, we are allowed to shoot only from the jeep. We're not allowed to get down from the jeep in our national park. We are restricted to only jeep. I mean, we can't go out of the route. We have specified route the tourists used to go. I mean, that only we're supposed to be there as per rules. And most of the parks, some parks in rainforest, you can get down and walk. But since I concentrate mainly on my films only on tigers. For example, if I'm in the jeep and suddenly if I see a tiger who's walking towards the camera, obviously you take a shot of them head on. Then he started moving parallelly. You'll be. My jeep is open, so I can 360 degree. I can pan anywhere wherever it goes, which I can get it. If the tiger is walking parallelly, we'll get a long shot. I'm talking about sequencing, a long shot to establish the forest and the tiger with the foreground and the background. Then you get a long shot. Obviously, long shot you can use, one shot you can use for maximum 3 seconds or 4 seconds, because I cannot move and take. So obviously we'll stop the vehicle, take the static shot. The tiger will be moving. It goes out of the frame. Then obviously you need one next shot, which is for an editing, which is for a sequence. So you know the tiger is walking, so you go forward, stop in a place in such a way, we give. I mean, obviously the driver knows that's what the understanding to the driver and the cameraman will tell you. We'll stop it, keeping the background in mind, and we block the frame, knowing that this tiger is going to walk, and it enters. So second shot is an entry, which is very important to cut after the first shot. You got a long shot to establish the place in the forest, which is walking. Again, you blocked it with a brilliant composition, because even that empty shot should look good. You are going to, I mean, everything. As a cameraman, every shot and every second is supposed to look good. You need to immediately decide and block it in such a way. The tiger enters, you need to know the height and everything, because the entry should be exactly into that. You can't afford to miss it. Then you have to go again get the entry shot. So exactly, tiger enters. The minute enters, and obviously start panning, little bit to give little more, to give a feel it is walking, and stop it so it goes out of the frame. So you decide that. Now you got the second shot. Now third, sometimes what happens, the tiger, when the minute enters, if you're lucky, if you're good, most of the time it happens. We also know suddenly it stops. If he stops, we see the prey, it stops. It just stops it in that frame. That means you got a brilliant shot. So you keep doing it till you get it. Sometimes now we know that it's going to see the spray. We know that there's an alarm call happening that side. There's a possibility it may stop and look. So you'll wait for that to happen. The minute it enters, it stops. You got a brilliant shot of tiger. Enter, empty frame, enter, stop, and it should be well composed. Stop you need. Otherwise, as a cinematographer, composition is also very important. You can't afford to have a tiger in the left corner and something. We need to have. So you balance it and stop it. Then it gives a look. Whatever it is, you need to capture it. As a cinematographer, immediately you need to establish what is the prey. You pan back and get a shot of a deer or whatever it is. Get a quick shot of that, because sometimes whether the habitat should be important, the lighting is important. You can't you can't afford to pick up some deer from somewhere else and put it. Sometimes we do, because there are some certain times we may not be able to see that. So we get that deer shot, establish and come back and get this reaction. Most of the time, tigers, what happened is decided to stalk or something. You just start tracing the tails. You need that shot, immediately go back and get it, and it stalks. Then you get into the shoulders and leg, and you start building up the sequence. So basically, you can't, in a film like this, the stalking can't be one chest shot and looking. Then the shoulder goes up and it sits. Then the leg, then you go back. You move the vehicle back and keep this tiger in the foreground. Possible the prey in front. So you you try to get both the shots together. So these all happens in maximum 2 minutes and 3 minutes and sometimes 5 minutes. That's it. See, if you get an opportunity, you have to kill it. You have to make sure you get it. So there is no point of getting tiger walking. Tiger walking. Maximum, I think I must be having 1,000 shots of tiger walking. You cannot use it because you cannot tell a story. Because you are trying to tell a story, you may not use the same whole sequence later. That's a different case. It may not work with the kind of a story. But as a cameraman, you are there, you spotted a tiger, your job is to make sure get that sequence. If you're lucky, the minute you turn back and keep the tiger in the foreground, if the tiger runs, you get the shot. It may not run, you may not. Sometimes that the deer may run, you lose the whole sequence. So this is called sequence. Here, there is no role of a director to say left, right, and take close-ups and take no chance. Even if they say it's going to be completely useless, and that's why you need to become a director cameraman. Here again, you can't afford to fiddle and check and search that operation. Focus rings and menu buttons. No, your whole muscle memory has to work. And you need to command, you need a person. And the minute you change the position, obviously the level changes, you need to change the level, you need to focus, all this thing has to do. So you started using the whole thing like a typewriter, and it happens. So it's all the whole thing happens in 10 minutes. After the whole day, there is no tiger. You'll be sitting idle, waiting for that to come back. So that's that. This is what I call a sequence.
When you're shooting, you said you were shooting with a 500 mm lens. Correct. Now 500 mm lens, whatever little knowledge, it's super tele. Now, how do you manage to keep things in such sharp focus that I can see every hair of his whisker?
It's a practice. It's a muscle memory. Nothing. There's no calculation. It's a muscle memory or finger memory. We know one step the tiger comes, 1 feet it goes. Automatically, it's muscle memory. I think if a person were on a daily basis, if you shoot, I don't think there's an issue at all, because you're seeing it and you're focusing it, and it's a muscle memory. You can't have an auto focus, and you can't have it. It happens. Again, see, a lot of thing happens because you are there. You're waiting for a tiger to come. You're waiting for a bang-on, head-on shot, which is brilliant. You're getting it with good lighting. 80% of it works. Automatically, your muscle works and everything works. That's the way it is, because you're putting your own money. You're waiting for a story. And you're getting a tiger in the right place and right movement. It all works. So that's a great part of wildlife filmmaking. It's not that in other places, okay, you can take it one more take. No, you can't. There's no take, no retake. You know that this is a shot you're looking for. You know that you got a left, right to pan. You're still waiting for that right to left, which you're getting it now after 1 month. So you are sleeping and you're day in, day out in that particular film. It's not that like a freelance cameraman, you go one day, today you shoot a cricket show and tomorrow you do a fashion show, day after tomorrow you go to a corporate show. No. The whole 2 years, I stick to one film. And day in, day out, for me, this is a film.
So therefore, for you, shooting is like breathing, instinctive.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah. I'm not good at words, but what you said is right.
Nini, what is happening here is, how far is the tiger from you when you're shooting? Okay, we have close-ups and we have these. When we talk of close-ups, Now, when I'm shooting a photograph and I'm shooting a portrait, I'm barely 4 feet, 3 feet, 2 feet, 6 feet, 8 feet from the person that I'm shooting, with my camera at home, or even with my, mobile camera or something like that. But over here, I mean, sometimes, you're in an open Jeep and the tiger, is there looking at you, or so it looks like the tiger is looking at you. But how far is it? Can the tiger jump up on you and eat you?
No, I mean, tigers are a very safe animal. I don't think, I mean, hardly we come across any such incident. They always try to avoid conflicts, and they are used to these jeeps. They see the whole jeep as an object, and they are on their own. They have their own problem. They have to start out a lot of stuff, and they are busy mentally with their own stuff. But I mean, for us, sometimes it's very far, sometimes very close, because there is no. I mean, whatever you can from the naked eye, if you can see, we try to get it on camera because we have very powerful lensing. Some we put doublers. Some I had a 400 mm. If I use a doubler 2x, it goes 800 mm. And nowadays, a mirrorless camera, if I put an 800 mm, it is equal to 1600 mm. Because the mirrorless, sometimes we do have a mirrorless cameras for standbys. We have 2-3 mirrorless camera for standby. I shoot with a full frame camera. Suddenly, if there is it's quite far, immediately pick up the mirrorless, put the same 800 mm, it becomes 1600 mm. And the cameras which we have itself is got, you can digitally crop it and shoot it. And we shoot in 4K and we can crop it, and we can because nowadays still the broadcast is in HD. I mean, there are very few people shoot in for broadcast in 4K, but we copy it, we digitally, I mean, lot of way to get this, but we try to avoid that thing. But I mean, whatever possible, we'll try to get through with the thing. And it's sometimes 30 feet, sometimes 40 feet, sometimes a kilometer. It varies, and we use that particular situation an advantage. If it's quite far, we just make with the habitat and with the forest, we just show the tiger which is far. Sometimes it looks good. Then we'll wait for the tiger to come back, or we go where possible. If it is an access, we go next to that, try to get that, match it. So it's a lot of way to get that.
Okay. So therefore, what you're saying here is you shoot on 4K, correct? So that sometimes technically in a studio, you can create close-ups and insert them for further sequencing and effects. Now, you also said something that you study the animal, correct? You study its body language, like you said. You watch its tail. The tail is moving in a particular manner, so that the tail can tell. In one of your films, it uses the tail to kind of summon its kids and things like that. Yeah. Now, let's move on to your making the film in your way. All right. Now, in fiction, I have a script. Earlier we've had a session with a gentleman called Mr. Kamlesh Pandey, who stated that, before a film is made, it is a blank piece of paper, and until the damn writer writes the script, there is no film. Except here, the most important creature is the cameraman, because until he doesn't shoot the film and shoot it in a sequence, understanding what the animal is all about, or what its family is all about, or studying its ways and means, then there is no way of telling a story about that animal. Now, people who make documentaries also follow a particular creature or a particular life or a particular animal. But here in this particular situation, in wildlife filmmaking, correct? Yeah. You're following the life of a tiger or any animal. Now, when you're following the life of an animal, how long do you have to follow it to get a story? Do you need a certain minimum time? When do you feel you need to cut it off, to have some form of story? Is it possible that what happens if the guy dies or disappears, if you could elaborate, because now we are getting into the realm of storytelling. So could you tell us about that?
Most of my films is mainly, my first film is about a tiger's last litter. So, that the tiger is almost 12 years old. She's quite old, Machli. So, she had the last litter, the 3 females. So I knew that there's going to be a conflict between mother and cubs. So I decided to start working on the film and conflict and separation and stuff. Then my next film is about a single tiger. It was very tough to do a film with single tiger. I managed to get it. It's called Tiger Dynasty for BBC. Third one is again, I thought I'll follow a tiger with family. So that was a third attempt. That was my third film. Unfortunately, after 3 months, I lost the tiger. So these 2 cubs become orphan. So I left it. I spent my own money because I just want to tell you, everyone, this wildlife filmmaking is an expensive process. It's like we pay something around 15 to 20,000 rupees a day as a filming fee. So for a month, 2 months, you spend money, and after that, if you're losing a character, is a big loss. Then I started working with some other family, started following it. Then after that, after following it, somehow I got that other story was happening. So it's like we keep shutting back and forth and try to manage to get a story. So mainly most of my films, all my films, I can say, including my recent film I shot in Maharashtra, it took almost 18 months to 2 years. Because tiger cubs, from 3 months, they bring the cubs outside. And after 18 months to 20 months, they start separating from the mother, and all the conflicts happens. So you have to mentally one has to be prepared to shoot this tiger film if you're following one character for at least for 2 years. In that 2 years, we may not shoot the complete 2 years. We may end up shooting 250 days. And sometimes you are there, but not in the park and following the tiger. For example, if the tiger kills this big sambar kill and drags into the place where there's no access, 4 or 5 days, we know that there's not going to be a sighting. We won't go there. We won't spend money. And when she comes back, then we know, okay, she's back to that territory. Then we start getting into that. But morning, we are the first people to get into the park and search the pug mark and follow it and get the tiger. And we are there till evening. And we are the last people to come out. The next day, we go there and trace it. So it's a day in, day out job to monthly, some 15 days, 20 days, we just go and try to get a story. It's not that you get a story in 6 months. I think all my films, it's minimum 18 months. So because until you get a story, we'll keep filming it. You may be having loads and loads of footage, but it doesn't mean that you can put together and make a story. For example, you may be having some 100 hours of footage. From the 100 hours, you have to pick up 1 hour stuff which can tell a story. No, it's not that you can make 100 hours footage. You can make 10-part series with. No, I don't do it. A lot of people do it by adding some interviews and stuff, which is I don't believe in it because which is difficult to sell it also. Because internationally, people want to see visually a drama happening, because that's what I call my film as an observation film. It's we don't preach save the tiger. We don't talk about conservation and stuff. It's about storytelling, about their own dramas inside their own life, and try to humanize it possible. Try to get an emotional angle into that. We'll wait and follow till that happens, so that the story has got all the elements. So then only you can sell it. It's not that, because since I invest my own money, it's not been commissioned by anyone. There's hardly anyone to commission in our country. Particularly for environment film, there's no commissioning people. We don't have any slot for environment films in our country also. So it's the pathetic. We have to invest our own money, because it should be an international standard quality. So you need to have all these parameters should meet that standard, which is very expensive. Because, for example, the cameras, everyone is saying they have 4K cameras and 4K cameras. Nowadays, every cameras are 4K. But that doesn't mean that those camera footage, the channel is going to accept it. Because there is a particular high-end 4K, which is, we call it 16-bit 422, lot of specification, which is very expensive. The body itself is something around 20-25 lakhs. The lenses and stuff, which you need to invest something around 30-40 lakhs of investment. So that is 4K. It's not that everyone say Mere paas bhi 4K, because even unless until you've got a great sequence in that, you can try to incorporate it in a big 4K format films. So these are the limitations, because time is one for the story. Money you have to invest. Every day you're paying money to get a story. Third is, in between, if you lose a character, you lost the story. It's a risk. Like example, in March, I was following a character. Exactly the day pandemic has come, Corona has come. I have to leave the park. I lost the story. I lost 7 months. I followed a character. I lost the character. Now it is monsoon. Monsoon, the parks are closed. You are not allowed inside. So you lost the story. I don't know what to do with this material which you got something around, say, 5-6 months. I mean, almost 7 months we put together. Now we need to find an angle for it. Otherwise, we cannot use this. Again, people say this footage which we can sell it. Hardly anyone buys this footage because nowadays everyone has got the footage. Those days are gone. So it's a lot of, it's a lot of risk factor, but doesn't mean that I'm not discouraging it. But basically, it's got a lot of limitations, a lot of risk, and a lot of you need a challenge to go face it. That is charm of making film on your own and tell a story on your own the way you want to make a story. This is a gamble.
Over here, you are shooting films on tigers.
Yeah,
correct. So there must be other filmmakers who also shoot on tigers.
I don't think so.
Okay. Supposing there are two. Let me just finish this over here. Is that if two people are shooting the same tiger, do two people shoot the same tiger? That's the first thing. And if they're shooting the same tiger, then how do you make your film different from the other person's film?
End of the day, story matters. Even if 10 people shoot the same tiger, there are people, when I was filming, there are film crew who comes and shoot the same tiger. Somehow they couldn't get a story. I mean, the story may be different, they may not be, but I also followed the same tiger. So, end of the day, whose story is better? And it's again a challenge to get a story. So it's not the rest, but again, even 10 people, even 10 multiple cameras, the same tiger, that doesn't matter. Your story matters. So
okay,
yeah, tiger is open. Anyone can pay money. There are people did it. When I was there, and literally people used to follow me, and they also followed it, and they also shot for 6-7 months. I don't know what happened to the film, but my film, I sold it because there's some reason they're not able to sell it.
Okay, so now you said that no matter who shoots, it is basically the story. So Ubaidji, can we have Clash of Tigers screened right now? And immediately after that, we will show the world's most famous tiger.
Two sisters, royal Bengal tigers, and natural-born killers. Granddaughters of Machli, the most famous queen tiger in the world. They are now heirs to her magnificent throne, the Lake Territory of Ranthambore, India. But like all royal families before them, only one heir can own that throne. A paradise for these big cats, and one of their last sanctuaries on Earth. But these tigers don't know that. The sisters only want one thing. They need to remove their mother and destroy the other to be the new queen and reign over Ranthambore.
He is the most.
You have said that you tell stories about these people. In your films, this tiger is called Machli. All right. She seems like the big matriarch who's had a lot of children, whose children have had children. Okay. And if one were to see, I think people, all of you who are watching, please try and catch all these films. Where are they available, Nalla? Where can they see them?
It's there in Hotstar. I think all the National Geography films you can see in Hotstar. And Hotstar and Disney. OTT platform they're looking for, it's in Disney and Hotstar. Because
okay.
Nat Geo owns this Hotstar and Disney platform now. So these films are there now.
Okay. So what happens is that if you watch these films, you'll discover a storytelling style which will have a Sholay in it, which will have a Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu in it. And then this new OTT series called The Riker Case and There's a South Indian Tamil film, Queen. Queen, it's the story of a woman who became the chief minister. It's a fictitious story, but, kind of looking parallel to reality. And, where it's all about, supremacy, territorial supremacy. Whether it's for humans or for tigers, it is territorial supremacy. All right. And there is control of that territory. There are families, there's loyalty, there's betrayal, there's intrigue, there's killing, action, revenge, drama, what have you. There's also sex, not in the city, but on the reserve, because the mother has a mate, the daughter decides to have babies with one mate, it doesn't work out, she goes to somebody else. The other daughter also decides that, she wants to try out both the guys. Oh my God, it's very, very interesting and exciting, and the way he presents it. And you got to watch it, and then they're all fighting and all quibbling. And I asked him, how do you name these? Who names these tigers? Nalla, who names them? Who gives them names?
Locals and guides, and it starts from someone, and then we just some reference. And mainly locals, and most of the names are the place where they settle. Because her mother had a fish mark in her eyes or in her cheek, so they followed that Machli thing. Arrowhead, there was an arrow you can see in her forehead, so we call her Arrowhead. Just because we need to because mainly on patterns is the only reference for us. And there's one character in class, there's a character called Lightning. There was a lightning sort of a pattern in her left leg. So, so it's like something, and there's one male which just suddenly entered in that territory, we call her X-male. No, Konsa male hai, X-male hai. It's like, then X-male became X-male. So Krishna was, I think it's chief minister, someone has named it or something. So it's like locals and the villagers and guides, and naturally some dedicated wildlifers, they used to come and click, photograph and post it in the social media, and with their affection and love, they just start naming it. It's just like that, because that's one good thing about tigers. There are some dedicated wildlifers, photographers, hardcore people. They day in, day out, they come on monthly basis, regularly follow where she's going, what happened today. The whole tiger world is different. As a filmmaker, it's a different case. I'm talking about, and no one knows about it. There are plenty of people just on a day in, day out basis, they follow tigers in the world, not only in our country, UK and US. And a lot of people, they come all the way to see this tiger, to click photograph. And I've seen 20, 25 years, photographers are coming to film one particular family, one particular tiger. People come, and the minute they see a tiger, they cry, howl, and they don't know what all they do. It's a completely different experience altogether. And there are some characters, they just they retire from Pune and they've settled to Ranthambore to just see a tiger on a daily basis. So you see families, and since that sort of a charisma this tiger has got. So that is one thing which is always attract everyone to go and keep filming and filming. In fact, Machli, the world's most famous tigers, I followed that whole family for 7 years. It's a 7 years of compilation. Just imagine 7 years you follow, not dedicated. I produced 2 films in between the same family. But this compilation, that world most famous tiger, the Machli film is a 7 to sometime I can say 9 years. There are some glimpses. So it's like we put together 7 years of work in one film. So you can see that in the film. You cry when you see it. So that's sort of a dedicatedly. Otherwise you will not get a story, because for an audience, all the tigers look same. Sometimes the same film, there are 5 characters. So you need to make sure that the character is not disturbing them. They have to identify. You cannot keep putting a name on top of it. It's like that. So in my film, for example, Clash of Tigers, are 4 characters, 2 sisters and brother, and Tiger's Revenge, there are 5 characters. But when you see the film, I can challenge you will not not even confused with one character, because it's so systematically you've done it. You just worked out pure psychologically work out. Audience should not get confused. The minute they confuse, you lost the story. Your 2 years, 3 years work is gone. And it's for an audience, all the tiger looks same. So it's a lot of challenge in that, but you cannot keep showing this arrowhead and lightning. You can't keep marking it. You can't keep saying lightning is coming and arrow. You can't give this cricket commentary. No, it's like that. So it's like it's a. I mean, once you're used to that, you know that. I mean, for example, again, you got hours and hours and hours of footage. I mean, you need to pick up the right footage and right place, and you cannot cheat. And these stories are true. The whole world knows the story. You cannot say that's any orbit story, imagine and put it, because these tigers are famous tigers. And there are people follow it. They know which background, when, what happened, who got it, who was the person who got the head on, who missed it. It's like horse, it's like it's like race sort of a thing. There are people who watch it. So that's a fun. No, it's like making film on tigers. You can keep making it throughout your life. And every story is different. And I mean, end of the day, Tiger does the same thing. If you see all my 5 films, 5 different stories.
Nini, over here, tell me something. Like you and I look different. I believe that tigers also are as different as our fingerprints. You know,
100%. The characters are different. Their walking style is different. The body language is different. Their nature is different. Two sisters are different. They're weaker, dominant. No, I mean stronger. A lot of characters. A lot of male characters. I mean, you feel bad for them. I mean, the orphans are different. They behave different. A tiger cub who lost a cub and mother in 3 months, the complete behavior changes. And the old tigers are different. The dominant tiger, like Machli, after 14 years, she was completely different. She's the one who killed a crocodile, and after that, she was scavenging for food. The whole character changes. The same character was killed a crocodile and lost her teeth and lived the whole life without one canine. And the same tiger is scavenging for food and dying in front of you. The whole character is different. The male who's dominant, who had some 5 territories and managing 3-4 females, and end of the day, it's like a vegetable. So you see the whole character in 7 years. You can see that Machli film as a first film. I think I followed from a prime to death. And people always love to follow from 3 months to 10 months. I mean, it's very easier to get visuals, but obviously difficult to get a story. And a prime to death is not an easy thing to get a story, and it's be emotional, and you cannot show. I mean, a lot of. I mean, you are attached to this animal, with the tiger, and for so many years, you're seeing it in a daily basis, and you made films on this whole generation, and it's been appreciated. So you also emotionally attached with these characters. It's not that. Yeah.
Machli went in front of you.
Yes, she died in front of me. I was alone. No one was there. No one was there. That's the destiny.
In the last moments, you were there with her
I
to,
was there,
hold
literally alone. Yeah, no one was there. I mean, obviously, after 5-10 minutes, people came. When she was there, when she was there, I was the only one got the footage of death.
Correct. And 2 is that
I was the only one got the footage of Machli's death, and this is the first natural death which is captured on camera.
No, you had a male dying in front of you also.
Yeah, that's also there. I'm talking about Machli also, male also, yes. But male dying at the time everyone was there. But here in Machli case, I was alone, because there's a lot of difference between dying in front of 10 people and dying in front of you alone, which you follow a character for 7-8 years, which is completely different.
No. Earlier we had Nandan Saxena and Kavita Bal with us, who were talking about, when you're making a film, you get so involved with the subject that you get sucked in emotionally, and then, you're kind of, sympathizing with them. Similarly, it was with you, with Machli, and,
it is there always. It's as a filmmaker, particularly wildlife filmmaker, you have no opportunity to think for first priority to get the content. I mean, other films, maybe a documentary or a character, other fiction or whatever it is, the different case. Here, you follow a character, is going to die. You know that the death sequence is very important, because you are followed for 2 years, 3 years, or you follow documenting some natural death. You wanted to get this document a natural death, which has not been done before. And this is an iconic tiger. the world famous tiger is going to die naturally. So it's not that the story is, if there is no death sequence, there's no film. I mean,
No, I understand that, but the point is that you have to be there with her.
obviously we feel bad about it. Emotionally, we are connected to that. All these things we keep it inside. I mean, even in conservation also, I believe in it. I'm not against conservation. I believe in it. I need people to save this creature. All these things. That's why we do positive films. We try to portray these characters to the audience so that they love it. So they start liking it. They slowly, get attracted. Try to give importance to that creature. That's the main motive of it. But the day I started talking about preaching it, there's no audience. There's no buyer. Because at the end of the day, you have to. I mean, we are competing with what you call stories like actor's death and and same time your next button here, there is National Geography of tigers. You need to have something which attracts the audience. So the important thing is, end of the day, the film has to reach. There's no point of you wasting 2 years of your own money and hard work and finally no one is watching it. I don't think as a filmmaker, I studied film to take a message to the mass, to entertain, to infotain, to give education and awareness in whatever the format which they want it, not the way you want it, which never works, because I don't think that's why no conservation film sells. That's why hardly any filmmakers in our country, in 130 crores population, maybe 3 or 4, 5 wildlife filmmakers. And maybe I'm the only one maybe religiously following tigers. So whatever years you can see last 10 years in India, only I'll be the only person who's following, religiously producing films, 5, 6 films on tigers, which is our pride to the world. So that's a concept that I believe that is a conservation. That's work which I do for conservation, because I pay money for every film and I pay filming fees and stuff. A lot of money goes there. That money goes for conservation. Now I attract tourists by watching my film. They're coming and giving money. That money goes for conservation as an independent producer. So my conservation starts and ends there. But as a filmmaker, for me, the storytelling, the story has to reach the audience. For that, I go to any extent. Whether you call me a commercial person, whether you call it completely a crappy filmmaker, I don't care. But my film has to reach. It has reached till today. That's why there was a regular buyer. That too internationally, worldwide. And it's also all been translated in so many different languages. The idea is to reach common audience, not for an educated people, because they know to preserve this species, they know to save tigers. There's no point of taking their views and putting, they keep on saying the same thing, which I realized it. With most of the conservation, they keep talking about the same thing. Save the tiger, save the tiger. Yes. How do we save it? There's no answer. So my living on the edge is full of that. Just keep talking about problems. There's no one says about solution. So today the channel wants something which can entertain the mass, so that they watch it at least half of some 10 minutes, 20 minutes film. The minute they see the talking heads, they just run away.
They get turned off. So basically, between fiction and your kind of filmmaking, the important thing is to have a story.
Yes.
In fiction, you put the story on paper, then you get your actors together. Here, as you had told me, that when Krishna had her 4 kids, 4 cubs, they called and told you that she's had 4 cubs. It's almost like, somebody calling up a director or a producer telling them, hero set pe aa gaya hai. And then afterwards, you're going to shoot the hero and you're paying for the set hire afterwards.
Yeah.
Hero set pe aa gaya hai कि नहीं, set को खाली देखा है, बच्चा पैदा कर दिया है. So these are the little strange kind of things that are there. But I suppose you too are doing your bit for conservation, because you're keeping people's interest alive through the stories of these tigers. You're not documenting them and presenting them as third world. You're showing them as they are fighting. You also have a film where, a tigress is taken to another location.
Yeah.
So that, because they're very possessive about their territories, and the daughter is willing to kill the mother. And then after, throwing her mother out, she has a baby with one guy, and she takes the babies out of this territory and goes to that guy's territory, leaving this territory back for the mother to come in, or her sister to come back in. Guys, you got to see the films. You've got to go to the OTT channel and see the films. All right. Now, that said, I think we've covered almost everything. Nalla, do you have something to say before I start closing in?
Good. I think it's never ending, but good it is. We almost covered everything.
It is never ending. See, because you told us that you joined a film school. Why did you opt for film instead of something else, and why cinematography? Can you tell me that? Why did you opt for film and cinematography?
Cinematography is at that time. See, I thought better to have a technical skill. I love cinema, and apart from that, I mean photography. I liked photography. So those days, I mean, there is always one needs to have a technical skill to survive. Basically, kuch bhi ho gaya to at least I can open a studio and take some portraits and passports, and I can survive. So I just thought might as well have some technical skill. Because those days going to say film school is, I mean, no parents will appreciate it, because I'm talking about 83 now people say cinema mein ja raha, that is for them, that too headmaster's son, they say no, it's completely for them they want, my brother is a scientist, so I they want me to make a doctor, and obviously here I want to go to cinema. So I thought might as well learn some technical skill so that I can I won't starve. At the same time, I like photography and cinema. So it's a mix of so many things. Again, everything, Rameshji, it's destiny, sorry. No, it's all, if you track, I don't know, a lot of things which I used to think how I managed to get it, how I was the only one who was there and Machli was dying. It's all destiny. I believe in it. I don't know, because after a point in a wildlife field, there's something which you lose and something we just suddenly get it, and I mean, that became a main thread of the story. Because we traveled with 3-4 story idea, then the one incident will change the whole story. We dropped these 2 stories and started following it. So that can happen in any moment. So as a filmmaker, you are alone throughout the time, morning to evening and the whole year. There's no support. You can't go and ask anyone what to do, how to turn the story, what I'm going to get. It's uncertainty, it's a lot of money, it's very bad, hard work and very bad, but there's a challenge and everything. So you learn after a point, you just believe in destiny. So that's what I believe. If you ask me why, what, it is, I mean, a lot of reasons, and and everything is positive. I'm keep moving on, but I think we'll keep doing it, try till our level best to, till we get an energy, till, whether support or not, but now I'm used to this, there's no other option. I will continue.
I think at this point, if I'm allowed to get a little philosophical, is that, you see, to some way, you've helped your destiny.
Maybe.
In the sense, you wanted to be a photographer, so you said, let me opt for it. You knew your father as a headmaster would never let you go for cinema. So photography was the nearest thing you could go to cinema. Now, if you wanted to go to cinema, you had to go to cinema school.
Yeah.
There, again, you tried to get in and you got in. Now, if you hadn't made the attempt, you would not have gotten.
Yeah.
All right. Then your father wanted you to get a government job. Correct? Because he wanted the security of a job. All right. You still need the security.
Yes.
But your security today is your skills and the continuity of your following the tigers. As long as you continue to follow them, then you will have the option of getting a story. If you don't shoot them, then you won't have any potential of creating a story.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And I asked you several questions. Oh God, how did this guy killed and how did that guy killed? Sometimes there are breaks. Now, over here, at one point, you said that government does not allow you to go anywhere beyond the tourist area. Nalla has been creating stories and he's been writing stories. And if you see his 6 episodes, he's following the story of Machli. Machli's 3 daughters, Krishna, Bagani, and Sundari. Sundari was the strongest of the lot. She fought everybody throughout. Her sisters fought, and then eventually, she fell in love with one guy, so to say, tried to have babies with him, didn't work out. So she goes across the border and falls in love with somebody and tries to have babies with him and gets babies with him. All right. Except at a future state, they're also in his films, they show that fathers also become good surrogate mothers when there are no mothers. Tell me something, Nala. Are you back with us?
Yes.
The animal life is very feudal or misogynist or whatever. The bosses of territories are the women.
Yes.
The females.
Yeah. Female. Yeah. Carry on.
Yet her mate, the male walks in, strolls in, comes in, and if she's made a kill, he'll come and, have the choice meal and then walk out. Yet we've seen where the males are, taking care of their cubs also.
Yeah.
And the males are also, do males have territorial rights, or the males belong to the territory where he has the kids with the female?
See, males will have 2-3 territories which is mostly nearby, adjacent to territory. But female will stick to one territory, and she's very, very much into that territory. But male keeps shunting from one territory to another territory, and males will mate with 2-3 females, and female will stick to one male. But there are some cases we also seen them. Even Tiger Revenge we can see, and she mates. Nowadays things are changing because of the whole situation is different. But as per naturalistic, whatever the book I read, this is what that female will stick to one mate. But yeah, mainly the territory is by nobody called. Most of the times, female used to have their own territory, and they have their own kids and everything in the same territory. And your earlier questions regarding this, obviously, in terms of what do you call that? Not an advice, in terms of suggestion is, in our country, obviously, in our government also need to promote filmmakers, particularly environment filmmakers and documentary filmmakers. Most of the documentary and environment and wildlife filmmakers will try to tell some sort of an awareness, some sort of an educational information through the films. But to encourage them, they should obviously give opportunities. Like, for example, internationally, if you go to Africa, you can go anywhere. You can go off track, and some places you can get down and you can keep a camera trap and a lot of liberty. But here it is not there, particularly in national park. One needs to think about that seriously with the special permissions, with the government officials, guidance. Maybe they can be the part of the crew, and one needs to allow them to go to document stuffs, because it's very important to document. Basically, we are documenting it. Most of my film, if you see, lot of natural behaviors are documentation and story. It's not just story, because these things never you get repeat. So that is one thing they need to support. And apart from that, hardly any channels in our country. We got channels for agricultural channel and Kisan channel and all sort of a channel, but there's no channel or a platform to telecast or broadcast your environment or wildlife based films at all. No. In the Doordarshan also there is no fixed slot for this. No. Because there's no slot. At least, see, today everyone has got a camera and everyone wants to do something. Every youngsters want to create a story. But after a point, where will they telecast? YouTube. YouTube is not the right platform for everyone. Because again, you are not getting the money, whatever the time is spent, you're not going to get that thing back from the YouTube. So, as a government, they should seriously think about creating a channel. And end of the day, people like us have to depend on these international channels. But you know how difficult to compete with them, because there's a lot of factors to get. Unless until your story is outstanding, you are in their level, and you can't even sell your films, and you hardly get commissioned by them. And even if you commission by them, their requirements are different, and with that requirement you cannot fulfill with keeping our rules and regulations in mind, because other parks and rules are different. They expect the same thing from here, which is difficult to fulfill it. So you have already a reference of other filmmakers in other countries, how they make, and keeping that in mind, and government should rework this complete rules and regulations for filmmakers, and particularly after this pandemic and corona and climate change, and there's no point keep saying it. It needs to produce films so that people understand the problem genuinely. So that's the only way we can educate or create some awareness. You cannot charge everyone. I am a commercial filmmaker. I make film, I sell it. Sometimes I lose it, sometimes I break even, sometimes I get good profit. Because you cannot expect that from everyone. It's not that easy. It's a very difficult job. It's a very competitive field. So if you can't expect everyone to pay 15,000-20,000 rupees a day and expect a professional camera to, if you hire it, it is 20,000 rupees. So approximately 40,000-50,000 rupees a day. You cannot expect everyone to. A good filmmaker, really a good filmmaker who can make best films cannot afford it. And there's hardly any producers to invest such as films, because for them, there's no guarantee of return, because there's no channel, there's no buyers. So corporates always talk about corporate social responsibility. I hardly see any corporates spend any money to produce films. No. Government, no. Even this trust and filmmakers and all this NGOs, no one makes any film by spending their money. I have no idea what they do, the kind of money they get. Hardly they do it, but they just make some films and put it in the Facebook. It's not going to work out. But we are seriously think about producing films on environment, creating awareness to the people, because it's very important after this pandemic, after this corona, and after all these things, one needs to seriously think about it. That's what I can say from my side.
Yeah. Have you shot in these 6 months since you had a close down? So therefore, all your continuity is gone out of the window.
I lost the character. I spent a lot of money on it. I've lost the character. Now I have to go back again to redo something which I don't know is going to work or not. But that's again monsoon. We are not allowed to go. Some park they allow. We need a lot of. There's a lot of things. The problem is there's no one to talk. I mean, there hardly any 3-4 people are there, and we as an individual, we cannot go and fight it. And country and ministers, and they need to understand the whole thing. But who will you go and complain it? See, everyone thinks wildlife filmmakers are making money. My only question always I ask, if there is a money in this country, in television, there may be some 10,000 producers and 10,000 people are there in feature films. Why, if there is a money, at least there should be some 100 to 200 wildlife producers. Why only 4 producers in the country? The only thing in India, mein, एक चाय का दुकान, if there is a money, there will be 20 चाय का दुकान. If there is a money in this, don't you think there will be some 200 or 20 wildlife filmmakers? Why only few? So that itself clearly shows there is no income. I'm not telling, see, if you put your energy for 2 years, you get it, but it is very, very hard. I'm not discouraging it, because that's the only way you can sell it. Or you get some money from there are some few foundation and trusts are doing it, and they give some peanut of 10 lakhs or 5 lakhs to produce a film. What will you do? You end up doing a film for 30 minutes or 45 minutes, you end up interviewing 10 people, and they keep talking the same problem. I still remember in 1991, I used to interview people for Environment Living on the Edge. Recently, I saw the same interview, the same person who gave me and still she and he is talking the same thing. Nothing is there. They keep talking the problem. I'm not blaming them. There's nothing else. You keep talking the problem because no one bothers. Someone called me two months back. And they asked me one question. Allah, tell me one film, wildlife film in India, who's changed the society. I said no, not even one film, including my film. That's the state. Till now, there's no platform. Where will you telecast it? And there's some ministry, I think they also do, they have some budget, they make some environment films. And I was told they got a slot in Doordarshan in night 11 o'clock. Who is going to watch in this today's situation at 11 o'clock an environment documentary is full of talking heads? So that's the status.
Okay, so now tell me something. That there is something called the Film Facilitation Organization in Delhi,
okay,
which helps to facilitate shooting. which is meant for both international people coming here and for locals to shoot.
Oh, is it? I don't know. I
Have
never
you
heard
heard
about it. I never heard about it. I don't think so. I never heard about it. I don't think I've never heard about it myself.
Then I think its head is Vikramjit Roy, and I think he's a very proactive person.
Okay.
All right. At the end, see, because they are trying to get people to help people to shoot. Please understand.
And again, you're right. And sorry, what I'm telling is, they also need to change their mindset of what is wildlife filmmaking now. See, it's not the end of the day. You need to make a film which attracts an audience. There are a lot of people wants to make film. There are a lot of people are still making film with 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs, 10 lakhs, which no one knows where it comes, where it goes. Maybe a lot of organizations. Now everyone has got a camera and mobile. I'm not talking about those sort of films. Period. Even if someone gives me a film to do a pure conservation film, I don't think I will do it. I might as well work as a cameraman for someone else, because there's no point. After 20, 25 years, you are putting some effort, it should reach at least some audience. No.
Okay, no.
No, it's not there. So I'm not talking about, they need to change the mindset. They need to, for them, let me put one thing frank. Most of the scientists, most of the environmentalists, most of the NGOs who works for this environment, tiger, whatever, wildlife, they don't like the kind of a film which I make, which I don't bother, because they think this is commercializing it, humanizing is not the right way. Boss, there's no buyer. There's hardly, the whole channel, the National Geography and Discovery, everyone wants that's that sort of a film only they're looking for. Otherwise, they want a celebrity who will be running around in adventure. Maybe it's the film artists or politicians, they just go around in adventure trip, and that's what's selling. And that's the only way. See, that's the only way you can go step by step. You create a 1 program, 2 programs, series, and make a channel, create a platform. In that platform, you try to create one more section for conservation. That's the only way. You cannot keep making conservation films which full of information, facts, figures, and problems and this thing. And I know. See, why Living on the Edge? I was commissioned by Doordarshan. I know. I traveled all over India, nooks and corners, to talk about pollution and everything. It was a prime time, hardly any viewers. It was commissioned. Then that is a game changer for me. Let me not waste my time traveling all over the world and collecting problems and environment and showing this pollution and climate change. Might as well change the whole format and do something, because it was a great program, outstanding program, first program, got a Panda Award winning program in. But at the end of the day, if you ask me honestly, Doordarshan has tried it, but hardly any viewers, because it was full of information and message and facts and figures and problems. That changed my whole perspective. Then I started looking back, how come, what is working abroad? So that is, from that only, the whole mind, I started working on this. This is working. But it's not easy. It's not easy. Hardly, it's not that. I'm telling you, it's very honestly speaking. So maybe future, there are a lot of OTTs coming, YouTube channels are coming, and everyone can create their own channel. So people can produce projects and they can do it, but I don't think it's not that easy.
Reasons for calling you here was this, that you were making story-based films. And the Instructional Media Center of Maulana Azad National Urdu University, all right, for them, they want to create the right things or start a thinking process. All right. We need to educate people. Please understand, the government has got their own problems. Today, 6 months down the COVID, they're kind of, helping out, and they're, no matter how deep their pockets, they've sunk as far as they could in it. And, everybody wants them to do various things. So you are last on the agenda at the moment. Yeah. You, meaning any filmmaking, is last on the agenda. And I want to ask you something very critical. I spoke to one of my cinematographer friends in the days of celluloid to digital, and he was a total celluloid man. I think R.M. Rao, he was a very senior advertising cameraman, and I have grown under him. And he was forced to switch to digital simply because one over-enthusiastic security guy, pumped up the X-ray at the airport. And the film got fogged in luckily they recovered the film. Kailash Surendranath had made that film, and luckily they recovered it. But he said, I didn't want it happening again. What if we lost the footage? Now the catch is with digital also you can lose footage. Yeah. The point is, what if you have a hard disk and it crashes on you? So do you have any backup mechanism in your Jeep?
No, what normally what I shoot with 2 terabyte hard drives like this. I always carry 2 terabyte like this. I may be having some 50, 100. So what happens is we do, sometimes it's a good sighting because our 4K data rate is very high. Sometimes a good sighting, we end up minimum 500 GB, 1 terabyte is very easy for every day we consume. 1 terabyte. I'm talking about 1 terabyte. So the minute our card size is, we do have our card is something around, this is one card which is 500 GB. We're having 2 cards or sometimes 3 cards. So it's 1 terabyte a day you consume. So every day you take a backup in a hard drive. Then once the backup is done, that's for standby. Then you transfer the whole thing into a completely different data cartridge, which is called LTO or optical drive. So once we transfer that they say you can keep it, you can store it for 20 years. But still, we have one more backup for that. So it's a backup and backup and backup, and obviously you have to keep it for 2 years till you complete the film. So that itself is, I'm talking about average at 2 terabyte of hard drive costs 7,000 to 8,000 rupees. You consume 10,000, 15,000 rupees a day. Obviously, you can reusable. Even if you put a cost for it, there is a cost. Again, LTO is a cartridge which is again 2,000-3,000 rupees. The machine costs some 2-3 lakhs. So it's again storing a data. We got three backups. So once a film is done, then obviously you cannot store it in a cloud. You can. It's very expensive. That's what. If you started putting value to each and everything, it's never ending. It's very expensive. I mean, sometimes you won't get the tiger for 10 days. I think maximum. I followed Krishna once. 8th day we managed to find her location, and 10th day we caught her on camera. So 10 days you paid money, nothing, and 10th day also if you don't get anything, there's loss. So this is something which is part of it, and sometimes you get brilliant sequence which is equivalent to 20 days of work. So this
Nalla, my question here was that you got her after 10 days, that you shoot every day and you also have people in the park, calling up and telling you, something is happening. So you go across and shoot it. The question here is that what if, this crashing on you. So
no,
what is your
you got 3 backups. You got a one.
At the shooting? No. At the shooting when you come home?
No, at shooting hardly, because in digital you shoot hardly. No, that crash hardly it happens. I mean, once you transfer it into a hard drive, there's a possibility, but the card, hardly we erase it. We are very careful because that's what. See, this is one thing. If you're a one man, and your money, your time, it's all automatically. You make sure that there's a lot of this all automatically works. You've got a brilliant sequence. Sometimes if you got a good sequence, immediately take out the card and keep it, and even though there will be a space, and you keep it and store it in a pocket and start working with the other one. So these precautions we take it, but obviously immediately we'll come back, we'll store it, and immediately we'll do a backup. Then only we'll delete it. So we check the backup, then we delete it, and after that we'll go for one more backup and keep it for 3 years, 2 years. It is there. So maybe because the celluloid things, because he has to go through flights and stuff, there's a lot of possibility for them to get things erased. But here, You are alone. You're going to the room, but obviously one needs to. Digital is also risky. When hard drives can crash, that's why we're going for backups.
Remote shooting, drones only, na?
We are not allowed, sir. In India,
You're not allowed.
Indian National Park, you're not allowed to fly anything.
But there's no spies or anything over there.
No, even if you
They
take
won't
it,
allow you to go in there.
even if you take it, if you use it, then obviously you are answerable.
Okay, so
Not
therefore we
possible.
need to.
National Park, because once upon a time aerial shoots are not allowed because these helicopters used to disturb. But still we have the same rule. We are following it. No drones are allowed. And again, confidential and all these things, but we are not allowed. Some parks they
You know
allow
what?
functions. I mean, some parks
Some
they
parts they are allowed.
Some park I think are allowing it, provided government is part of it. And some chief wildlife wardens, they all individually they take a call on it. But drones are not, as of now, not every park are allowed. That depends on the park directors and wildlife wardens. But general permission says no drones are allowed.
From what you've told me, that I mean, a place like Films Division or somebody, or maybe PSBT, cannot really commission a wildlife film because they won't know how much budget to give you.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, 15 days you didn't shoot. Correct?
No.
But while you didn't shoot, or there was no sighting, you still keep shooting a lot of monkeys and deers and peacocks and various other birds, and you keep shooting all that, which you use in an intercut and or to tell your stories and things. The sound that you use, the actual animal sound, besides the sound that you add in a studio for audio aesthetics, how do you record the sound on location?
Most of the time, the forest is silent. We record it while shooting. Mostly, we shoot in a tourism zone. Very difficult. A lot of tourists are around, and we do morning and evening. We record a wild track. Otherwise, 80% I can say is all produced in the studio. It's all available in the market nowadays. There are people, experts are there. You name it, you get it. So that sound part, we normally, again, technically speaking, most of the time I shoot in 60 frames per second. Now, I mean, if you go for high speed, obviously recording sound and syncing sound is not possible. So that's one thing which is, we keep it 60 frames most of the times, because anytime action happen, that's one thing we consume a lot of data because of that, because you 3 times more you're using the normal 25 frames. So that's the reason we don't use, hardly we keep the mic, but there's silent, something is happening. We just try to record it and keep us a wild track. For a reference to a person who is in the post, we'll say Indian sambar deer. For him, you need to have a reference because he must be having some 20 deer calls. So you need to pick up the exact sound. We'll just give him a reference. So that's the way it is. It's just but you get it. You get there are a lot of outstanding post-production people are there in this country and world in abroad. So you get it. That's not a problem at all.
And the music that you do, I mean, most of the time I'm seeing in your credits that there are international names there. So you do your production out of India?
What I do is, over a period of 2 years, whatever I get, I keep editing it. Sequence, I just keep putting it so that I know what is missing, what sort of a story I'm getting. To keep re-edit. At the end of the day, we get sit. Last 6 months I was doing that. We sit here and 6 months we try to do an offline story from 100 hours to bring it to 3 hour story, or sometimes 2 hour story. Footage. So you line the footage with the storytelling from the beginning to end, maybe 2 hours, then try to put voiceover, a rough track and everything. The whole story is ready, the structure is ready, where to where, what, all these things are ready. You align it, then you go, and after that we make once the story is ready, you make a small pitch of 3 minutes or 2 minutes or 30 seconds or 1 minute, like the promo. We go to the distributor or the channels directly, we pitch the story idea with a concept, so that they also know there is a story ready, because this is funded by myself. Once they like it, then the channel will become a part of this post-production setup. There will be some EP will come from their side, because after the point when the channel is taken, every channel has got their own way of delivering and giving content. For example, National Geography is mostly a family-based audience, and Discovery, the most of their audience are youth, and BBC is most of educated and naturalistic. So they have their own agenda. Keeping that parameter in mind, they just try to try to twist a little bit to fit into that parameter. So which I go to abroad, sit with the editor, sit with the EP, and fine tune it, put this whole structure into, tighten it with them. Then obviously all the reference music also we'll put it in the rough track, tablas and guitars, sometimes instruments. You get everything more or less. You can see the whole film, and I've got a little more space of the visuals which you can pick around and add and subtract. When that is done, you give the reference music, and obviously music is a very subjective thing. Which as an Indian, I like something. It's going to be a universal audience, and obviously I give freedom to them, and also try my level best to keep an Indian thing, because subject is Indian. And they keep this universal audience in mind. These are editorial freedom one needs to give it. But at the end of the day, they are the broadcasters, they are the buyers, and they got their own parameters. So it's not a film which I am producing it and showing to my own audience. So those factors come in, become a little bit of editorial. But the thing is, since mine is a character-based story, very small possibility of picking, because the stories are fit. You can't change the story. It's all true stories. Then, obviously, a writer comes. Since I am a storyteller, I'm not a writer. I'm not good at that. So we put the basic story voiceovers, and they try to add voiceover on it. Writer that comes into the role. Once everything is done, write it. Then the voiceover artist come. Then everything is done. We go to the post-production ambience. It's done. So I give it for them to distribute for 5 years, at 10 years. I got the money, then I come back and go back to another tiger. That's what the process. Sometimes it takes 2 to 3 years, and sometimes take 18 months, but minimum is 2 years. So the whole process, we go through that. Yeah.
Okay, you used a term here called universal audience. Yeah. The story is already told by your camera sequence, correct? So you've written that story down. You said you also record some kind of voice approximately. Now, like you have sound design in which you're replacing the original pilot track with natural sounding sounds and plus artificial sounds for effect. I've noticed something. If I can use a term which I use for myself, is writing for speaking. In your case, I'm also seeing commentary design, where a person writes commentary seeing what you have edited. So suddenly if a monkey is deciding, he's trying to make a monkey like a spy, who's telling the deer, hey, please go away, tiger's coming, kind of thing. And then the deer goes and tells his own guys, hey, let's move on, he's told us something. And every once in a while, you'll show a monkey carrying its own baby to safety also to, enhance the safety factor. And you've also spoken about where a mother tiger is training the junior tigers so they don't kill the big deer and they kill the small deer instead. There are a lot of these natural things, you don't take more than you can eat.
I know. That's an observation. That's an observation.
That's an observation. So, I mean,
again, a freedom of interpretation, taking a freedom of interpretation, because I'm the only one watching it. I'm the one, I become an audience. I just try to find out why. Keep asking questions and follow. Okay, now she's taking only small cup. Oh, last week also she did the same thing. Second time she's doing. Third time she's doing. That means she's hiding the cup somewhere there. So she don't want to carry a big kill. So the distance is quite far. A lot of interpretation. We try to add that. That's a storytelling. That's what I'm representing an audience. I'm there on behalf. It's like I'm telling a story they are not there from their point of view. I see it and interpret it. That become part of the story. But most of the time, it's become true. It's become a naturalistic documentation, because it's not that just the minute you see, you just interpret it. You analyze it and find it, and again read a little bit and find out. That's good. That's one thing which is very very good in this sort of a filmmaking, in observational filmmaking. We have a complete freedom, but not everyone likes it, because that is one which is always people say no, that may not be reason. It is very subjective, which I don't care, because for me story is important.
You're doing something, we must learn to appreciate what you have done. There's one thing that I've observed, normally, see, I speak for a living, but when a documentary filmmaker comes to me to write for him, I said, preferably, you do your own voiceover, because since you made the film, there's something that'll come from your heart. Now, what you have done, I have seen, is you include yourself in the film, but you don't use your voice.
Yeah, I'm not, because
Yet,
I know that.
yet that voiceover speaks in first person as if you're speaking. Now,
Yeah.
I know that is, different, because I know what you sound like. But
Yeah.
for somebody who doesn't know what you sound like, you add that dramatic element. See, these are the licenses that we take as a creator.
Yeah,
Most people, who talk of documentaries being realistic documentaries, who talk of news being reality, I mean, in my word, if I were to put it in a crass word, bullshit. If I put the camera here, I am showing you the thing from my point of view. So I've already colored it. So these are things that we have. So therefore, you have to try and neutralize it in
Yeah.
your storytelling. Either neutralize it or give it a color that is not, how do you say, biased,
Right,
so
yeah.
to say, or give it a color that is credible, or give it a color that tells the story of your subject. I mean, these are things that I am interpreting on your behalf, because this is what
No,
I
correct. That
understand.
is one good thing, is that's also add value to my films, which every filmmaker should understand, because I've seen most of the people, their English is good, they just come on camera, but the way they present it may not be good. That kills the story, because I know that I'm not good at on camera, and I'm not good at my speaking, and my language is not good. I still translate Tamil into English. So but I'm good. My story is great. My visual is great. My follow is great. My dedicated. I put my money. Might as well stick to that. There are some professionals which are there. But at the end of the day, the final product is important. It's not me coming and doing everything, and just for the sake, I don't want to spoil my film, which I put my blood for 2 to 3 years. So as rightly said, for me, again, the content, the flow, the emotion, and that's very important. That one, particularly on a film, in a wildlife film, it's not that easy. It is very easy for me. If you ask me, it's very easy. Fiction is very easy for me. I can close my eyes and do so many things which I don't want, because at the end of the day, it's too many people's ideas and stuff. Which I thought, this is something which is very personal, which I can tell a story from my perspective and keeping the audience in mind.
Okay, I think we've had a very enriching session, Nala.
Thank you very
You
much.
haven't told us one thing that you had told me in our briefing sessions, was that you became a producer, because in India, the producer reigns supreme. And so when the award is given, a cameraman, despite being such an important creature or an input provider in a wildlife film, at the end of the day, the award is given to somebody else.
Yeah.
Acha, then if you want to enter a film for an award, a cameraman has no status about entering the film for an award, because it belongs to the producer. He can't even enter it for a festival, because the festival will say, please get a signature from the rights holder or the owner or the producer. And the producer at that point might be too selfishly possessive, or for whatever reason, or whatever his compulsions are, because he's also trying to sell the films to things. Therefore, you become your own producer. Now, the comparison between an Indian wildlife filmmaker and an international filmmaker, I mean, you can put in 2 crores into a film, but then there is the same amount that Discovery puts into a film, except it's in pounds and dollars or euros. Now, that multiplier is what, kind of eliminates you from actually competing at an international level. And we Indians, I mean, which I have discovered, we have the penchant for presenting ourselves as something. I go to Cannes Film Festival, stand on the red carpet during the daytime and shoot it and send a photo to my wife and say, hey, I was on the red carpet. Bullshit, I wasn't even invited. Then, as a short film maker, I pay them $58 to Cannes Film Festival, put my film in the, short film corner, and then advertise, hey, my film scanned, in Mumbai, I put in the press or Facebook that, hey, I am in whatever you call it. Now, there is, I mean, my R&D also told me that all these little green pandas, there were, the actual green pandas, which are there for the international things, and there were these little pandas for the developing countries.
Yes, yes.
Everybody, opens their chest and says, hey, I'm a green panda winner. Correct? No, let's not get into all that. The question is this, that in order to make a film good, you have to be true to yourself.
That's important.
In a feature film, you must have a script beforehand before you even think of anything. Because when you're writing, then you know that, this actor must be, whether, Nana Patekar is going to be a hero, or Salman Khan is going to be a hero, or Hrithik Roshan or Amitabh Bachchan is going to be a hero. In your case, your hero is already decided. You're shooting the hero. You have no story. The story develops as you shoot and as you move on, and then the story develops. Yes, it is a big khandan, a big family, a clan, so to say, like Godfather, that is there. Like Machli was the godmother, so to say. Yet, it tells such a realistic story that no matter how good, no matter how big, no matter what heights you've reached, one day from that peak, you have to come down. Now, these are the things that you interpret. If you make a mother tiger say, oh, she doesn't want to kill a big guy. Probably she was too fat to catch it, or they ran away, that she catch the poor helpless baby. But nonetheless, in your storytelling, you try to make it relevant and more human, and also give value to your storytelling. This is something that I appreciate about your filmmaking. Friends, whoever is watching, please go and watch these films on Disney and Hotstar. As we began the beginning, there were challenges. All the challenges that were there, not all, the challenges happen every time, so you cannot list them out. Like the COVID is the latest challenge. He couldn't go there. Even the people who gave him information are not there. They are also not there. So stories are getting missed out. But challenges have to be overcome. You have to take it within your stride and move ahead. This is what Nalla has been doing. So therefore, win some, lose some. What you lose on the swings, you make on the merry-go-rounds. As I said, we call him Nalla, not because he's our friend, because Nalla is a brand. Now, if there's a brand, if you're having a particular biscuit brand, particular ice cream, particular quality, you want that brand. So therefore, if you want a wildlife film that has a story, that has a moral, that has something to say to you with a message that is meant for an audience, that is made engaging, that knows that it has to compete with million entertainment alternatives, that when somebody is watching, they could be watching a feature film instead. They could be watching Avengers, they could be watching Transformers, they could be watching Sholay, they could be watching Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi, or they could be watching Mahabharata and Ramayana. His films contain all these elements, and he has to stand his own ground on it. So, Brand Nalla, thank you very much for today. And I think Manu University and Instructional Media Center have got quite a valuable package. And I think, Rizwanji, I suppose you could come in and share the honors. And Ubaidji, can you show one more film to end off the whole thing with, once before Rizwanji starts and once after he starts? You got two more films left.
An extraordinary tiger dynasty is under threat. Machli, the Great Mother, has ruled this kingdom for over 10 years. Now, her daughter eyes her throne. A hand soon outsiders. But this prize, so difficult to steal, will prove even harder to keep. Fierce rivals, dangerous liaisons, and territorial wars lie ahead. Who will be the next ruler of Ranthambore?
Amazing. Amazing. Thanks both of you for such a wonderful session. It was absolutely amazing session today, and it has really enriched me also, on wildlife and environmental filmmaking. It was like a master class for me. Right from discussing technical aspect, aesthetic aspect, and then the narratives, various narratives about the wildlife and environmental filmmaking, and then issues and challenges which Nalla Muthu Saab has followed during his journey to the wildlife and environmental filmmaking. I'm sure this has enriched the audience a lot, and already we have crossed now 2 hours in this session, which is really a marathon session today. So I'll quickly take few questions before we close this show. First question comes from Mr. Sanjay Dattani. Sanjay Dattani asked, Nalla, please share opinion on new formats like LF formats or IMAX. What is your view on these formats?
LF and IMAX formats works maybe mainly for feature films, but I think it's again still, big content and very big. IMAX is, that it's for purely on a big screen projection. But I don't know. I'm not. I can't even think of carrying an IMAX camera into wildlife in a park and shoot. It's too heavy. But LF is, yes, it is affordable and it's affordable in the sense it is easy to carry, but it's very, very expensive. Even LF, not only format, you need to have that large format lenses to use it, because you need to change the whole lensing system, whatever you have, which is too expensive. I was told one of my friends recently bought for hiring an LF format camera itself with the whole package cost 1 crore. So I think it's not for documentary and people like us, maybe for a big budget film or feature film. This format keeps coming and going. But at the end of the day, in that format, as we always discuss, you need the right content to carry. That's very important.
Wonderful. I'm sure, Sanjay, your question is well answered. Now we have second question from Mr. Ram Nanda. He says, please, how fresh cinematographers without celluloid knowledge should understand the cinema?
See, theory is same, only the format. Even celluloid is also a format. But the theory for a cinema, what we learn from the film school, only the recording format is different. But we see the focal length, focal flange, aperture, exposure, shutter, the resolution, all the size and everything is same. But and obviously we learn from cinema, but theoretically we learn. Processing is also, we used to use chemicals, now we are using digitally processing. Again, the colors are same. Earlier we used to record everything together. Now the raw format is you record every color separately. So you have a more advantage of correcting it separately in the way you want. You've got a lot of plugins. You can add some LUT and what sort of a thing, new thing you can add it. But mainly the more theoretical stuff, I can say 70% is same. Only the format is different, the hard drive is different, the cards are different. Otherwise, if you read a theory, theory books are, even a cinema theory, I think better new person can buy old cinematography theoretical books, which is very cheaper now. You get it in a normal rate, a very cheap rate. And you see that old school, get this old school knowledge. And from there, it will be easy for it to, then after that, you start reading these digital books like a story book. But if you know this fundamental very strong, you can read it. Once you're thorough in theory, and after that, any camera comes, you need to see the specification and characters for an hour or something, then you operate it. So I don't think it's a big difference. It's only that they made it different, but otherwise, nothing. After a point, I can say a little more technically. Earlier in cinema, you can go for 2 or 3 star overexposed and or 2 star underexposed. Now you can go for 10 star overexposed, but still you can fix it in post, which is more convenient. Digital is more easier. If you learn this difficult part and understand the whole thing, and after that you can close your eyes and shoot. Sometimes Tiger counts for me. There's no time to put an exposure. We just shoot it. Maybe 4 star overexposed. We try to fix it. But for us, the content. So it's all in mindset. That's all I can say.
Amazing. So I'm sure, Ram, your question is well answered. Now, with few words of appreciation, K. Satyamurthy says, Nalla Muthu is a legendary filmmaker. Tanushri Gangopadhyay, she says, thank you for narrating your experiences so vividly, which were very, very vividly expressed. Then Sujatha has a question for you. Sir Nalamuthu, you are specialized in wildlife filmmaking. How about the shooting during monsoon season? Do you take all precautions during filmmaking as a cameraman and director during monsoon?
Monsoon and national parks, they're not allowed. Recent number is all the tiger parks are closed. There's no permission. But sometimes they give us special permissions. In fact, I also shot one of my films. You can see few monsoon sequences, and we go in a closed vehicle, and we carry rain covers and stuff. And the visibility is also very less because all the prey goes to uphill because the ground level is full, waterlogged. So when the prey goes uphill, obviously tiger also goes uphill. It's very difficult to get this visibility. We do basic, if there is a kill happens and a kill is there, and obviously tiger will be there next to the kill, there's no other option. Otherwise, searching and getting a tiger, mainly wildlife, is quite difficult. So that's the reason they don't allow, because the tracks are very hard. You get the possibility you get stuck. And again, mainly visibility. And mostly they say most of the wild animals, the breeding season is also monsoon. So normally they don't allow people to disturb this breeding season. And as per National Tiger Conservation Authority, which is a body, as per their rules, one needs to give 3-4 months silent period for this wildlife, because rest of the time all the tourists goes and disturb. So these factors are there, but still there are some rainforests like Agumbe and the Amboli. So those places are open for monsoons, which you can go and shoot some insects and snakes and reptiles and stuff, but not for mammals, not for tiger parks.
Great. So we have next question from Saurabh Goyal. He says, what is the minimum requirement for wildlife filmmaking, especially in terms of camera lens specifications, battery life, and required tools to cut light and maintain good focus and zoom?
See, mainly we shoot everything is in outdoor. We don't use lights and flash. We are not allowed to use. Again, minimum requirement, I'm a broadcast. I do for broadcasters. My requirement is completely different according to broadcasters' requirement, which is very high end, as we discussed. But otherwise, it all depends on the purpose. Where are you going to broadcast it? Where are you going to show it? If it is for YouTube, even a mobile phone will do. If it is, Facebook, any format, whatever you're comfortable to do. Again, if it is a viral image, even a broadcasters will take it even in any format. Even if it's a mobile format, and even in any out of focus shot, if the shot is a viral, they will accept it. So it all depends on where you're going to finally end product is going to be used. According to the requirement, you can shoot from a normal camera to end of the day. Again, I repeat the whole thing. It's what is the purpose and what are you going to shoot and where are you going to show it.
True.
That matters.
True. Sujata has another question. She says, do we have women wildlife cinematography filmmakers in India compared to the cameramen?
Yeah. There are a lot of female camera women are nowadays. I'm seeing a lot of people are there, and presenters are there, producers are there. They are making films, but I don't know for international broadcast platforms. They are making films. It's not that. In fact, there are more women in making these sort of films, particularly researchers, and a lot of WA and a lot of researchers are women, girls. Very few men, I can say that. Nowadays I can see that a lot of women are coming up because they also wanted to explore and get into adventure. They are producing it. So women's also definitely there is a great potential to get into this. And there are a lot of in Bristol and all. There are some colleges which they take mentors and they take a lot of women candidates to teach. So one can apply there and get one can learn things, and they can definitely get into this field. A lot of scope, I can say.
Wonderful. Saurabh Goyal has another question. He says, sir, who are the pioneers in wildlife filming in India, apart from you? Who can be approached by wildlife filming aspirants and students for practice and mentoring?
Pioneers, there are a lot of pioneers. There is one, Bedi Brothers. They are the pioneers which I can say from the day one, which I really like them, very professionally, and outstanding cinematographers, outstanding filmmakers. They are the people who showed into the country that what is wildlife filmmaking is all about. They are Padma Shri, they are national award winners, Panda award winner, lots of award winners. Now their children's also following it up. They are professionally doing, till they are doing it. And what I can say, they are dedicatedly doing only wildlife, which is very important. It's not that they do whatever comes on the way, which is very good. And they are the pioneers which I still respect, and I have great regards on them. And after that, a lot of other people are coming. But I mean, if you ask me, pioneers, still I refer them from India, which is, they are the first people who showed worldwide, internationally, in films from India. I always respect.
So Saurabh Goel asked yet another very interesting question. He says, which funds are available globally for an Indian filmmaker for a wildlife, commissioning or the financing?
There's none. Hardly anyone funds. Maybe channels have commissioned to few filmmakers because the reason maybe because restrictions. If international crew cannot spend that much time the local person can spend. Other reason is, in India, if there's an international crew, that filming fees are double. So they might be using Indian crew there's no budget. So that way they commission, they fund. Otherwise, maybe I can say 1%, hardly anyone funds. You have to, that's the reason even after all these things, I don't think getting commissioning is not that easy. Maybe Indian broadcasters. There is in Discovery India, National Geography India. A lot of people say they do films for Discovery and National Geography, but they won't say whether India or only international. There's a lot of difference. But India, they do Indian based. They concentrate only Indian content, and for the Indian this thing, they might be funding it provided there is a concept. But again, they also see if there's a commercial aspect where they can take back the money from the advertisement. Revenue is very important. It's not that they also do conservation-based films. For them also, they need a return. So in that way, if you see hardly anyone, that's one thing which our country needs to seriously think about it and support filmmakers and get funds. I don't know. I was told the corporate social, whatever the fund which I call, I still wanted to understand where these people are spending. I hardly see anyone spend for any filmmakers. I don't know. I'm still looking for someone.
Yeah, that is corporate social responsibility actually. Yeah, lots of
responsibility. Okay.
Yes. So Sujata has next question. Is there a much to be exploited on wildlife filming on Indian soil?
Yeah. India has great potential, outstanding potential. India, I can say, India, you can, some way you can see you get better than Africa. That's why I've not done any film in Africa. One way it's very easy. You get quantity and hardly you get quality stories. They are good. And India, that is why very international filmmakers, India is not easy.
True.
I'm telling you, Indian forest is so difficult to get images the way you get in Africa. Africa, I was told, every day you get to see something. Here, I told you 10 days, hardly sometimes you see tiger, that too sometimes for 10 seconds. That is why if you see, worldwide if you see, hardly any international filmmakers come to India and make films. One, and even if there is a planet Earth or whatever the planet, big planet, that multi-crore film, in that you can hardly see India there. I still want to know whether India is in our planet or not, because in that planet Earth, I see India just a few glimpses. One thing is maybe it's very difficult. It's not that easy. So one needs to understand the difficulty on Indian country. There's great scope, but difficulty, not all the park, and good potential for stories than other countries.
Amazing. Saurabh Goel has another question. He says, Nalla sir, some of the shots we see in the film Clash of Tigers on Machli in Ranthambore are very cinematic and have dolly and sliding shots. So were they shot on sliders, and are sliders and dolly also used extensively in wildlife filmmaking?
See, in wildlife, they used to call a word called blue chip. It took a lot of, so many years to understand what is this word called blue chip. But after that, I realized blue chip means you need the cinematic shots. Okay, what is cinematic shots? It's like all these gizmos of track and trolleys and crane and classic backlit and this drones and this, which is, I don't think that as a cinematic, as a storyteller, this is important, which you can see all this big high-end films, which is one way to, if there's no story, you can use this and get away from that. Most of the time they use it to glamorize that, it looks good, cinematically. Most of the time it looks like promotional film, and most of these good-looking image films gives a feel in such a way those environment is not even affected by this, no interference of humans, but the fact is completely different. They avoid it. Everywhere it's in polluted, it's completely disturbed. But these images looks plastic and gives very good. But at the end of the day, there's hardly any stories. But to give this blue chip feel to, once I got the story, the completely classic story, then I add these elements of affordable blue chip, which is slider, which is we'll put in the vehicle and try to give a little bit of establishment shots. From this sliders and stuff, it's difficult to make sequence because you need to take time, and this meantime you lose it. So I don't use it. I use mainly on static shot, basic old school filming. Just stick to a static basic and make sure that something happens in my frame, which is very difficult again to make because you are dealing with a wild animal. But somehow you can see it. In my film, even a static frame, something will keep happening. That's the shot I pick up. I was told recently in one film, an international crew has come with a heli gimbal, which they use to take shots from helicopter, which is a gimbal. You put a shot and fly, you get a stabilized shot, which they used in a gypsy. They brought all the way to take shots of, you travel and move, just to give the cinematic feel, the blue chip feel. But if you have a strong story, audience don't even think whether it's a tracking shot or a tiger walking shot. You can't even tell a difference between that and this. So that is what we call it. So I use it as an independent filmmaker. I use it. Obviously I use some sliders. So that's why it attracted, because it for an audience that gives this good feel. But I don't believe in that. No, if you ask me.
Interesting. Ajay Shetty says, hi Nalla. And then we have one more question from Saurabh Goyal. He says, sir, do you suggest that the park fee for wildlife filmmaking for Indian origin filmmaker must decrease, just like the monument fee, to help Indian filmmakers offset the high cost and get the more work from international wildlife channels due to economy of working with Indian filmmakers and to foster wildlife filmmaking culture in India?
Yeah, I was same thing I was discussing. See, end of the day, environment filmmakers are creating an awareness. They should encourage even culture, encourage whatever. These are all part of the same. I've said documentary filmmaking. Documentary's got various subjects. Environment filmmakers are educated. We need to have. You cannot see one more thing. In today's standard, you have a 4K camera. Ramesh ji has got a 4K camera. I have a 4K camera. But if I go with the 4K camera, I have to pay a filming fee because I've been branded a filmmaker. But you go with the 4K camera, as a tourist, you can get away with that by paying 200 rupees. I know how many people are making in our country, just paying 200 rupees and making films and broadcasting it. I'm very happy because, they should be encouraged. At the same time, people like us also should be considered. I'm also using a 4K. Might be better, might be a little broadcast standard. Even sometimes you go for a holiday with a small camera, they say, Nalla sir, aap to commercial kar rahe ho, you need to pay money. Even if you go the holiday. So you've been branded. So that is not right. You need to give freedom. You need to give preference for wildlife filmmakers. And we comes under commercial. For example, as a photographer, you come and you make a coffee table book. Obviously, you sell it for 2,000, 3,000. That is commercial. They never charge for it. And you write a book. I know how many people have wrote book, just not paying anything, and commercially they have sold these books in copyright and they made so much money. They never comes in commercials. And some people take this footage and sell it in the market. Chota photographs. And they also commercially do it. Only the filmmakers are coming into commercial because we declare honestly as a filmmaker. As an independent person, we need to consider, boss, yes, I am commercially, but I'm also paying money. They need to consider that, and I'm creating awareness. For example, if you have a time, there's one thing which I want to tell you. For a normal film, it takes 200 days. 150. Keep it 100 days. A filming fee is 15,000 rupees. I paid 15 lakhs to the government. There's an income for that. That money goes to conservation. So what else? As a filmmaker, I'm also doing conservation effort. My film is worth of lakhs. By seeing it, tourists are coming. They're paying money. That money goes to conservation. So they should consider all these things and give freedom. I completely agree. Documentary filmmakers and environment filmmakers needs to give freedom. Needs to get some sort of a concession or privilege.
Interesting. Ashok Mirchandani, he says, very interesting and educative session. Proud to know that Mr. Nalla Muthu is an Indian. And then lots of suggestions on the same questions. Government should relax on wildlife filmmakers, relax rules and give special permission for the filmmakers. So reduce at least the park fee for filmmakers. Then Saurabh Goyal puts up another question. He says, is there a time period or season which are better to shoot? Be it in Sriska, Ranthambore or shooting in Western Ghats. So
if you want visually good images, obviously there are timings and mornings and evening. And if you're looking for content, if there is no, a lot of people ask me what time, when can I come for a holiday? What's the right time? For me, if you ask me, all the time you can always come because there's no restricted time. And if you're looking for content, while anytime anything can happen, you need to be prepared for it. Yes, if you are looking for specifically for breeding or hatching or nesting or whatever, there is a time period which is always one can find out. Otherwise, for mammals and stuff, generally you can always come. Some people like winter, some people like, foreigners like winter so that they can, and some, I work for us, if I follow a character for 2 years, everything, all the seasons are good. I need to be there for all the season. For good photograph, obviously, good lighting is. You may be coming in the right season, the lighting is not good, then it won't work. Right. So there's a lot of ups and downs. So you can come at any time. But tigers, yes, there's no restrictions.
Great. Ashok Mirchandani, he appreciate the moderator today, Mr. Ramesh Tekwani. He said Ramesh has been asking appropriate questions, which has the audience glued to the watch. Indeed, a very, very nice moderation today. All of us enjoyed session today. And Saurabh Goyal, he says, amazing, what a marathon session. The questions posed, range of question, experience and the intellectual rigor of host and guest is admirable and inspiring, not bound by the constraints of time and money. A webinar must be like this only. So lots of appreciation for this marathon session today. It's already 2 hours and 30 minutes now. So we have 2-3 more questions and we'll wind up this show for today. Ashok Mirchandani, he says, Nalla, you are a god sent to India. Hope you get more recognition from our government. All the very best.
So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And Ashok Mirchandani, he again said, Disney and Hotstar, here we come. So yeah, they are going to watch your films on Disney and Hotstar. Then Ramnanda says, is it feasible to shoot wildlife at night? Were there instances for you?
See, nights again, our permissions are morning sunrise to sunset. Night, filmmakers are not allowed to shoot. African countries, yes, we can go on searchlight. Outside the park, yes. Buffer zone also, if it is outside the park, yes. Otherwise, what happened in Tiger Dynasty and all, what we did is we tied up with research people. A lot of researchers, a lot of Wildlife Institute of India, they do a very good job. They do translocations. So we tie up with them, with their permission, we keep camera traps. So that's the only way we can get images. If there's a tiger kill is there, we know the tiger is going to bring the cubs. Or there is some movement which we know, we place a camera trap. In the evening, the next day morning, we go and get this, whatever the card, and we see it. So not every day you get it. If you continuously keep it, once in 10 days, you get some shots, and from there we try to tell a story. There are some in my Tiger's Revenge that really camera trap has really worked, because again, it's not night. Again, what happens is the cubs are 3 months old. We lost the mother, natural death. So the forest department wanted to, catch them and put it into enclosure. They're not able to, get this tiger cubs. They ran away. Then they decided to keep a camera trap and put some meat and water. Then next day we saw these tiger cubs were there, was trying to look around the water, and they saw the reflection. They just ran away. We slowly started getting some images. So I just incorporate that as a part of the story. Then we decided to keep camera trap as a third eye to watch it. That became a character. The camera trap became a character in my film. You won't believe, they monitored these 2 orphan cubs only by keeping meat and water for 4 to 5 months. Every day, job is to go see. Every day we can see, yes, they're alive. They come, close. And once what happened, we saw a male tiger was just crossing. Then we all are worried. Then we saw this male tigers. We just checked the pattern of the tiger. Then we realized that's the father of the same cubs. So that was the first time we saw a father is also taking care of cubs. From that day onwards, see, like this, you get a story by keeping it. We never expected that something is going to happen. So that is a way. So everything we try to take as a positive. Something that is the only way. You can't leave it. The day that my mother died, the day I decided, okay, there's no story, I lost the whole story. We were religiously kept these camera traps. We started getting images. Then one day the whole story has changed. Father. That's the first time we saw a father is taking her to. Then after 6 months, the father was with the cubs outside. Then this father protecting these 2 cubs from the other tiger who comes to attack. And the whole story changes. That's called Tiger's Revenge. You can see all these camera traps. But night again, if you put a light, obviously you disturb. Here what happened, you get this real natural images. So there's a lot of way, but in India, there's again a restrictions, infrared cameras, which we can use it, but not in night, in low lights. I do sometimes use it.
Amazing. So next question is related to this only. Nageshwar Rao, he says, how different it is filming wildlife in India compared to abroad? The risk involved.
Again, I told you, you're restricted to only tourism zone. You're not allowed to non-tourism zone. You can't go to off track. You have to stick to the track. You have to keep a distance of 30-40 feet. And you're allowed only in safari timings. You're not allowed for the whole day. When the safari timing is over, you have to come out. Then you have to go in. So a lot of restrictions are there. And abroad, I was told, I never shot till now. They were told they give a sticker saying that it's a filming crew. So they can don't follow. So they can go anywhere. So that's why you see, we people are always appreciate. I saw one film in National Geography. It was so good and fantastic. They never realize the kind of restriction which we have. Mm-hmm. We always try to see and appreciate others. We have to look for our side also, which never happens. It is difficult here, and obviously abroad it is easier.
True. So we have the last question of the show today. This is from Sujata. She says, could you tell me where can we send the entries on wildlife-based films? Name few.
See, wildlife film, there's one main festival is called Wild Screen, which is worldwide famous. Second is Jackson Hole. They are the 2 which equivalent to Oscars and green Oscars, they call it. And in India, yes, there is one Vatavaran, there is the first pioneer.
Yes.
Otherwise, I believe only in our national award, because the main reason is they see the film, then they decide what is good in this, as a cinematography or a content or a direction. Most of the festivals, what happened is categorized based. So it's very difficult to get into that system. They need to change it so that's the one reason I apply national award, because they see the whole film. The jury will say, okay, this film is good for cinematography. They get an award. But so these are the 3 main festivals which I see. Otherwise, there are loads. That's a big business. It's a lot of commercial festivals also there. For Indian, it is difficult to get awards. You hardly get awards, I think. Not in this prime big festivals. You're competing with planet Earth and with his 20 crores and this is 1 crore and a lot of things, which is difficult.
Thank you. So with this, we have come to the end of this session today. I should thank you once again to both of you for such a scintillating conversation today. And it was like a conversation come masterclass actually on wildlife filmmaking basically. So once again, I thank both of you for kindly sparing time for this conversation today. It's really honor having both of you today on this show. Thank you so much for both of you joining.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for Ramesh ji. Thank you very much, Rizwan ji. Thank you very much for everyone listening to my.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Magnificent and powerful. A will of steel. She rules the most desirable land in the forest. But one thing is missing from her kingdom, and she'll stop at nothing to get it.
So thank you once again. So we close this show at this note today, and audience, thanks very much for joining us today. We will be having yet another expert on coming Saturday, who is basically an eminent photographer, and he'll be taking a class on photography. That will be a master class on photography on next Saturday, 11:30 a.m. So kindly join us next Saturday at 11:30 a.m. You will meet a wonderful photographer in the coming session. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please take good care of you. Stay home, stay safe. Goodbye.